All right, here we go. Adam22, welcome back to Vlad TV.
Happy to be here. How you doing, Vlad?
Hey, just did your show, and after doing your show by myself, an epic moment in independent hip-hop media history happened.
Seemed pretty good. Yeah, we had me, you, academics, Whack, Trap Lore Ross, and Remo all in one room for about 3.5 hours. And yeah, I don't know if I can think of a comparable collaboration where you had that many people with million subscriber plus channels all in one room as far as hip hop goes, at the very least.
Yeah, we're gonna show the photo right here. It's just a very dope photo because everyone in that room is cool, supporting each other, and people are like, oh, so does everyone get to put that on their channel? And I'm like, nah, that was No Jumper. I wouldn't even think to ask. Like, that's his thing. It was on his platform. We just happened to show up.
Right.
But this is how cool it is. And you know, it's just nice to see what I've always thought was the best possible situation is all of us working together, none of us really competing with each other, because historically in media companies have always clashed with each other, which I always thought was stupid.
Right. You always put me onto that from very early on. If you have a new competitor, somebody who's doing similar content to you, reach out and embrace them when they're early in their journey, because, you know, there's just not a lot to be gained from conflict and having issues with people. But meanwhile, forming good relationships with people who are coming up in the space can help you out in the long run. And I think a lot of people, me, Ross, Ack, we all kind of look at you as kind of the godfather because you really saw how a lot of this shit was going to play out in the long run. And I think we're all thankful for our relationship with you. And I think that you're a model of how to approach that kind of thing, as opposed to a lot of people who are in more legacy media spots, especially these radio guys. I mean, they're just salty as fuck, and they don't want to see anybody win. When they see that picture, they're horrified because they realize that the way that they've done things has not really panned out. And then meanwhile, a lot of these independent content creators are willing to all get together and make content, you know?
Well, that picture was great, but unfortunately, No Jumper is going broke. So I guess that was the last hurrah at No Jumper Studios.
Yeah. That was our last big hurrah. That's a fact.
Okay, now you and I had this conversation about this. So I have an interesting perspective on it. And I was kind of playing with it on Twitter. I was like, should I buy No Jumper? Then I'm like, oh, I'm finalizing the sale of No Jumper. What job should I give Adam? Because I knew the comments were going to be comedy.
A couple of people hit me up. You need to fade Vlad for this. I'm like, that is not the appropriate conclusion for you to come to here. This is all fun and games. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I wasn't even considering buying No Jumper. This was not a serious conversation. Although a couple people did hit me, like on the street, be like, "Yo, man, you really buying No Jumper?" I'm like, "No, I'm not really buying it." But there are some money problems at No Jumper, which you have revealed publicly. That was your choice.
Yeah, it's funny seeing people try to dunk on me where it's like, bro, I chose to share this with the world, so clearly I'm not too embarrassed about it. But yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I had a pretty genuine relationship with my audience where I try to tell them whatever I have going on, and unless it's something in which there are, serious consequences in relation to it, I just prefer to be honest with the audience. And when I look at the business now, it's like, okay, we're not in the same position that we were during the pandemic, and that's fine. And I just wanted to, open up to the audience about that. And there was a few different things that sort of have impacted us. Number one, we have a lawsuit from this disgruntled bitch-ass employee, which we're dealing with, which, that alone is not going to ruin our year or anything like that, but that's definitely been something that has been costing us a lot of money. We also lost our Instagram for about 7 months, but I do have to say, thanks to that big guy upstairs, we got it back 2 days after I made that video. We got the Instagram back, so that was definitely a consequence of making that video that I kind of foresaw. I actually thought that was sort of likely to happen if I got that many people aware of the fact that we lost our Instagram unfairly. I just felt like something good would come from it. So the fact that actually worked out was really nice. And then obviously buying the building, which, our mortgage is well over $20K a month, which I don't think was necessarily the best idea, but I had all these other revenue streams. Like at one point, the YouTube was just going nuts. The Patreon was going crazy, etc. And buying a space that cost that much didn't seem like a bad idea. It didn't seem like it was something that could potentially hurt the business. I also felt like we were growing so much and scaling up that we needed more and more room to grow. After 3 years in the same space, it's just kind of more clear to me that I know what this business is now. There's only so much content that we're going to be able to produce that is going to be profitable. And as a result, we just don't need a space that big. And granted, okay, we have it, fine, it's an investment, but you know, it would feel better to me to be in a space that was realistically, you know, like the room we're in, maybe 2 of the rooms that we're in right now would be enough for me to get by on. And yeah, I've just seen that with a lot of businesses over the years where it really fucks them over when they decide that they want to overinvest into their space, etc. So revealed all that in the video, and you know, there's always a marketing side to it for me. So that was also us kind of like unveiling our membership program, same as you, $5 a month to get early access to our interviews and everything like that. And yeah, also then we got the Instagram back, which is probably the best thing that could have possibly happened to us from me making that video. So I explained it in the video, but am I personally going broke? No. I do porn. I have a very successful business called Plug Talk. I also, not a big spender. I've got plenty of money that I've stashed away over the years. A lot of people, I was watching academics react to that video, and he thinks I'm crazy because I don't got a Lamborghini and I don't have a $200,000 chain or whatever it is. I mean, I'm just not interested in that kind of stuff. So to me, I put the money away. You know, I very much look forward to the day where I'm sick of doing content and I can just ride off into the sunset and not think about paying the bills. So to me, it's like money is to be made to save. I don't really like think of, you know, I'm making money so I can purchase more stuff. I don't have that desire for stuff. So as far as me, I was never worried. My girl was a little bit on the fence about me making that video because she obviously had people hitting her up left and right. Are you going to be okay? Is your kid going to be able to stay in private school, et cetera? And it's like, my girl's looking at me like, you really want people to think you're broke? And I'm like, well, I didn't say I was broke. I said that No Jumper was going broke, which is different. If No Jumper loses money a couple months in a row, then No Jumper is going broke. That doesn't mean that No Jumper's fucked for life. Doesn't mean that I'm fucked. It just means that this business was going through some hardships and we had to correct our course.
So the $4 million studio, how much did you put down? You bought it?
Man, it's been a while. I can't remember. Probably 10%, 20%. I can't. It's been
so
forever.
You put down 400 to 800,000.
Something like that.
Okay, and then you had a $20K a month mortgage on top of that.
Which, with all the costs of owning a building, ends up being significantly more. There's a lot of property taxes. There's all kinds of shit.
Because you're going to pay. Well, it's a business. I know on the residential side, it's like 1.1% in Calabasas. So if you have a $4 million house, you'll pay like $44,000 a year just in property taxes. Business might be a little different though.
Yeah.
Is it more?
I don't actually know. I'm not like super in the weeds with my own business. I probably should be more so, but
it's at least that.
Yeah.
You're paying at least 40-something thousand a year just to have that unit.
Insurance, repairs. There was that one point I walk into the main area of my space and I see like a bubble emerging in the ground. Like the ground is sort of like concave, like it's coming out of the ground like a volcano almost. And I call somebody in to take a look at it. It turns out that back in the day, some chemicals were buried in the backyard or under the ground.
Wow.
And one of these barrels exploded and there was a lot of pressure coming up through the ground. They have to, you know, completely tear out the whole floor, take care of the stuff that's in there, and then they fixed it all up. But it's like, you know, you get a random bill for $10,000 because you own this space and you start really thinking like, God damn, renting would be nice. Like, this is what I saw Tony Yayo calling you an idiot for supporting renting. But, you know, I own my house. I've owned a couple other houses over the years. But at this point in my life, I really feel ready to just be a renter when it comes to the space that I create content out of. That sounds great at this point.
Yeah, no, there's actually a new video, like my new interview with Tony Yayo, where I actually respond with facts.
Right.
And I break down how, for a multi-million-dollar house, like he was saying how $15,000 was crazy, but I show him with a $3 million house, you'll actually spend more than $15 every month, way more.
Right.
And after 10 years, you'll have nothing to show for it because you're just paying interest to the bank. You see what I'm saying? So
I think a lot of people have that idea in their head from their childhood. Like, I remember my dad telling me that basically if you make it to my age, if you make it to your 40s and you're still renting, you're a loser. And if you buy a house, then you're building equity, and that's what a winner does. And as I get older and older, I'm like, this is bad advice. You know, it's like in certain market conditions, it's favorable to buy property, but there's a lot of good things that come out of renting a spot too. And anytime I see something happen to one of my friends who rents their house and it just is immediately dealt with by the landlord, I'm like, okay, don't take this for granted. Like, this is a nice situation to be in.
Well, yeah, I mean, you and I are in almost the same situation because I have a studio in New York that I pay around $20,000 a month for, right? And I'm locked in, I think, for another 2.5 years or something like that. Wow. It was like a 7-year lease at the start of the pandemic. Now, at the time, I had employees that were all in the studio, which is why I signed the lease, re-signed the lease, that is. But then you start to realize during the pandemic that everyone works from home.
Right.
You actually don't need the space. But I know there's an end date when this lease is over. There's like a 6-month deposit that I'll get back. I tried to get out of it. It didn't work. I mean, not that I tried, but I talked to a lawyer seriously about it. They went through the whole lease and said, no. They're just going to sue you and you're going to end up having to pay more anyway. So just pay for the rest. You know, we're trying to sublease. It didn't work. But yeah, I mean, at least there's an end date and I'm out. And at that point, I'll get a 6-month check back. So I'll get $120,000 back. No repairs am I ever responsible for. It's just done.
Right.
Whereas in your situation, are you trying to sell it right now?
We have it on the market. I'm not in the biggest hurry. If we got an offer tomorrow, I guess, we would just sell right now. But, you know, that being said, if we have to sit on it for 6 months, 9 months, a year, it's like, it's not the end of the world, especially with us getting the Instagram back. But ultimately, it would make a lot of sense for us to get rid of it.
If someone gave you a $3 million offer for the unit right now, $3 million now.
I think that would be a small loss. Like, that would be a couple $100,000 less than what we spent on it. That being said, if I could just get away from it right now, maybe, because...
Well, you spent $4 million on it or less?
I think it was like 3.3 million.
3.3.
Like
oh,
okay. I titled the YouTube video of me touring at $5 million mansion, which I guess was, or a warehouse, which I guess was hyperbole. I don't even remember consciously exaggerating that, but yeah.
Okay, so you sell it at a $300,000 loss.
If that was the only offer that I had, and the other version of this was me waiting a year to see if maybe I could get a better offer, I guess that would be interesting. And I wouldn't consider that to be a huge loss, because think about how much utility we've gotten out of it over the course of the past 3 years. $300,000, $100,000 per year, $8,000 per month. That's pretty good deal if I got to use that space for the equivalent of $8,000 a month.
Yeah, and people like to say, well, when you responded to Tony Yayo and said how renting is actually cheaper than owning, you're not talking about the equity in the property. And I'm like, you don't know if you're going to have any equity when it's time for you to sell. Okay, if you spend all 30 years there, then yes, you'll probably have some equity. But if you're like most humans that might sell after 5 years or 8 years, you don't know where the market is. Like right now, selling at this very moment, people are looking for deals because of what's happening in the stock market.
Right.
People understand there's not as much cash out there. People are taking losses. It's a grim future. People are trying to get it. People like you are trying to get out and taking multi-$100,000 losses because they're choosing to sell right now. You're not guaranteed a profit in property every time like people like to think.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
It's not. This is why a lot of times even spending $15,000, $20,000 a month makes more sense than actually buying a multi-million-dollar, retail or commercial or private property. So you're learning that. I've learned that in the past. It is what it is.
At one point, it rained really, really bad, and the drains were clogged outside my house. And so water got into my house and fucked up the wood flooring. And we ended up having to have our entire floor torn up in order to fix this water damage. If we didn't have insurance, it would have cost us something like $90,000. And, this is not something that we could have seen coming when we bought this house. And it's something that we wouldn't have had to pay for or deal with in any way if we had just rented a spot. Now, that being said, our mortgage for my house is something like $8,000 a month split between me and my wife. And, you know, if we were to...
Wait. You and your wife split the mortgage?
Yeah, we bought it together.
But you guys, what, out of each of your personal accounts, you guys pay half?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
Okay.
You thought I would just pay for it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why would you?
I mean, that would be a very nice gift for me to have given to my wife, to be like, hey, you're not going to be paying the mortgage, but, you know, we chose to invest in it together. I guess we view it as an investment.
But you're married, so it kind of doesn't matter. It's joint property anyways, unless you have a prenup.
Right.
Even with a prenup, you bought it after the prenup, so the prenup wouldn't apply to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Unless you say it was bought separately with company funds that are your company, which doesn't sound like you've done any of this stuff. So basically, it's community property anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter who pays for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess...
But that's interesting that you guys are doing that. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Right.
I'm just saying it's interesting you guys are doing it.
I don't even think it was never discussed or never even considered that we wouldn't handle it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's interesting. So, which of you makes more money?
That's a good question.
Because she has her own OnlyFans, right?
She does.
That's hers.
She's definitely one of the biggest girls on there, yeah.
Okay, so she has a personal OnlyFans. Then there's a Plug Talk, which is both of you?
Plugtalk.com, yep.
That's both of you. Mm-hmm. So that has an OnlyFans as well. Mm-hmm. So which OnlyFans makes more money?
That's a good question. But I shall not reveal the answer
You
to
shall
that
not reveal. You can tell me, but you have to kill me.
But what I will say, though, is that there's been times in which, like when we bought the house, she was making way more money than me. Fast forward to the pandemic, 2 years after we buy it, I'm making way more than her. Fast forward to now, it's probably closer to the same. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of ups and downs as time goes by, because that I couldn't have seen coming. You know, like when we bought the house, I didn't even want to buy it. I said, you know, we have this condo. Let's just stay in the condo. I don't want to get out of here. I feel great here. And she was more concerned with owning something. And, you know, as time goes by, you know, Jumper was killing it for a while. Like, to be real, though, her OnlyFans has been unbelievably consistent over the years. You know, she's just so smart with her money, and her overhead is very, very low compared to something like No Jumper with like 10 employees, you know?
So when Ruby Rose says that she makes $400,000 on OnlyFans in a bad month,
right?
Real or clout chasing?
It strikes me as if it could possibly be inflated a little bit, but that being said, she's mega famous and beloved, so I'll give it to her that could be accurate.
Okay,
maybe. I don't know. It's also it's in the OnlyFans girl code to throw some sauce on those numbers.
You gotta do it.
I mean, it's just
throw an extra zero.
They all know how valuable it is to be seen as somebody who has this incredibly valuable product on their OnlyFans. So it's like, if I found out that Ruby Rose makes $200K a month and she's out here saying she makes $400K on a bad month, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't hold it against her. It's all marketing.
Well, Big U and the whole Rolling 60s indictment. And this is pretty much like in your backyard.
Yeah.
All this is happening. I know Big U. I've always been cool with Big U. I've said this over and over again. He did an interview on Vlad TV, got millions of views, probably his biggest interview ever.
His first interview, right?
Might be, yeah. Might be his first interview. And we kept in touch. We would talk to each other a few times a year, always very cool, friendly conversations. He's never tried to make me check in. He's never tried to extort me or anything else like that. Like, he could have, you're in LA, you're gonna need to kick up this much each month. Nothing at all like that, at all. So when I heard the news, my jaw dropped. Now, number one, were you surprised?
I was surprised, but I was a lot less surprised than I would be by most federal RICOs, because I had Christopher Lovejoy, Whack 100, and Loose Cannon, really, to a certain extent, all kind of teasing this happening before it happened. Christopher Lovejoy was doing all these Instagram reels talking about it, and Whack was backing him up. Whack was talking about it. So, it's kind of weird to be sitting there on a podcast, and I got somebody like Whack telling me all about this murder that Big U's going to get charged with, and I'm just thinking, like, how the fuck do you know this? before it's been announced by the cops. Normally the cops, or the feds in this case, want to make a big splash when they announce something so that it's more difficult for the people to make a run for it or to hide evidence, etc. And then one day it actually happened. And it was especially dramatic because the night before, I had finally got Loose Cannon and Brig Baby, who are both Rolling 60s members, but, you know, it's a very large organization. So they were at odds for a long time. And we finally got them on camera together for a nice podcast on the No Jumper show. And then 7 hours later, 7 hours, maybe 8 hours after we finished, their houses get raided and everybody gets picked up, which was very shocking.
I mean, do you think that Wack talking about this murder and all this other stuff ultimately caused the feds to really look at it more carefully and turn it up a little bit? Because, well, look, it's already going viral on YouTube. Let's just take advantage of it and let's clout chase along with everyone else. Because, you know, for example, we were just talking before the interview. I'm having this whole situation happen around me with Swerve Strickland versus Booker T and so forth. And I kind of was blamed as instigating this whole situation, which is nonsense, by the way. Me and Swerve have been talking. He was like, I stand behind what I say. Like, you didn't instigate anything. You asked a question, you quoted Booker, and I responded. But in the process, I brought up this guy, Chasen Rance, who was a registered sex offender with like a 12 to 15-year-old. And I brought up pictures of Booker T with this guy. And the next day, he was arrested for violating his registered sex offender guidelines. You're not going to tell me that's a coincidence. You're not. Like, this conviction was from way back. And suddenly, because his picture's all over and Yahoo Sports and Sports Illustrated is doing stories about what I'm saying, suddenly his probation officer was like, well, let's look into him. So do you think that Wack constantly talking about an unsolved murder that he claims Big U's involved in got the feds looking into this unsolved murder that Big U's allegedly involved in?
It was kind of the other way around because Wack didn't know who the kid Rayshawn was. Wack didn't know anything about the possibility that this kid getting murdered had anything to do with Big U, aside from the fact that Wack had somehow got on the phone with the mother of the victim, and the mother had told Wack that the police or the feds had confided in her that when they found Rayshawn's body and they did the autopsy, that they found Big U's DNA under his fingernails, which I don't believe that is actually supported by
we talked about
indictment.
This when all of us did the round table. We talked about this. And the paperwork says that the DNA under the victim's fingernails are inconclusive.
Right.
They may be Big U's, but it's inconclusive. But they're definitely not the other guys.
But regardless, the victim's mother did tell Wack that, and I believe made a TikTok at one point, and that was a lot of what Lovejoy and Wack were basing this on. And so them drawing more attention to it, could it maybe have caused the feds to hurry up and do the RICO before they might have wanted to? Possibly. Did they see Luce and Brig Baby both on a podcast together the night before, and did that make them want to hurry up and do the RICO a little bit earlier? It's possible. But that being said, it's not like this was a street thing that Wack knew about. It was like Wack knew about it only in the sense that he heard stuff from someone associated with the victim. So Big U actually caught an additional charge for intimidating witnesses or something along those lines, because he made an Instagram video off his wife's phone right before he turned himself in which he was talking into the camera. And he said, like, y'all don't talk to these people. He basically blamed Lovejoy and Wack for getting him caught up, which is kind of silly. And but he also made it clear that he didn't want people cooperating based on him. And that was ruled, or that he's being charged, it hasn't been ruled, but that he's being charged with the idea that was him basically trying to intimidate witnesses and whatnot.
Well, he's being charged with 1 count of conspiracy to violate the RICO Act, 2 counts of conspiracy to interfere with commerce by robbery and extortion, Hobbs Act, 1 count of Hobbs Act robbery, 9 counts of attempted Hobbs Act extortion, 5 counts of Hobbs Act extortion, 1 count of transportation of an individual in interstate commerce with the intent that the individual engage in prostitution, Mann Act. 15 counts of wire fraud, 5 counts of embezzlement, conversion, and intentional misapplication of funds from an organization receiving federal funds. 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of tax evasion, and 2 counts of willful failure to file a tax return. And he's also charged, as you said, for the 2021 murder of RW, who allegedly made a diss song against Big U, which they're saying caused Big U to kill him and dump the body somewhere in Vegas.
Which he actually played football under Big U, I think at Crenshaw High. And then I guess had some kind of potential as a rapper. They put him in the studio. They tell him to work on music. He's basically fucking off, not doing what they want him to be doing. At some point, Big U drives to Vegas, and then we don't know exactly what takes place then, but Big U allegedly ends up killing him, which, I'm gonna be real, it's like, that seems like kind of a silly reason to kill someone, especially if you're somebody like Big U who's been in, you know, presumably millions of street conflicts, people dissing him, getting into it back and forth with people, enemies dissing him, etc. The idea that Big U would kill this kid,
an unknown rapper.
Right. I feel
nobody's heard of this guy.
There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle right there that I'm going to have to learn to make me understand why that would have been the appropriate response from Big U, because you would think, I mean, anyone who's been around Big U, this is a big human being. Presumably, if this kid's 20, 21, I mean, Big U could have sent the message in a variety of ways aside from killing him. So I'm a little skeptical about that story. I feel like by the time this goes to trial, we'll probably have a very different version of events in our minds.
Well, look, like, Whack 100 has been saying the most heinous shit about Big U this whole time. Then he brings in Loose Cannon with this nonsense story that Big U had Nipsey set up or let him get killed or whatever else. So all this high-profile stuff that's happening with millions of views, you kill a guy over a diss song that nobody will ever hear.
Right.
Really? Really? Like, you're actually committing murder. Well, look, I had heard there was some tension between Big U and Nipsey at one point, but I can't say one way or another because when I interviewed Big U, he spoke highly of Nipsey the whole time. There was not a negative word said about Nipsey at all. Was there some tension behind the scenes? Maybe, but killing someone over a diss song, like, okay, if Kendrick did a Big U diss song, okay, and it's being played at the Super Bowl, okay, maybe this is worth dying over, you know, or going to prison for the rest of my life over. Not me, but I'm saying, like, Big U, it's like, okay, I got to keep hearing, you know, like what Drake's going through. Right, I got to keep hearing I'm a pedophile on the biggest stages at every club. It's on the damn charts.
But we still haven't even heard this song. Like, I don't believe that there's even a copy of it out there. Maybe by the time this goes to trial, we'll get to hear some excerpts from it. But yeah, no, it's definitely a little hard to believe.
This part is flimsy.
Yeah.
This part is flimsy.
Well, what's not flimsy is the cell phone records and everything that basically track him from the studio to the desert where he threw the body and then went back.
Well, but didn't he turn off his cell phone when he went to the desert, allegedly? I'm not saying he did.
He turned it off at some point, but they still had plenty of data connecting him to it. You had the security guard who said that he saw Big U dripping in sweat, who said that he just left the gym at like 3 o'clock in the morning after he got rid of the body. So, I mean, there's a lot of like evidence that, from what I've gleaned from looking at the paperwork, it doesn't seem like this is something that Big U is going to be able to beat. I feel like if I had to bet, I'd say that Big U probably won't ever be a free man again.
Well, because there's so many other charges.
And that as well.
It's not just the murder, it's RICO and all that stuff I just read. Mm-hmm. The extortion, everything else like that. Listen, not a single negative experience with this guy. I knew his reputation. I had 2 security guys that day, just to make sure I'm safe. But he was like the coolest dude ever. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like, oh, look at this video of Chris Brown where Big U announces he's donating 500 more sneakers and Chris doesn't even realize it. I watched the video. Chris was like, whatever. You gonna tell me superstar Chris Brown cares about another 500, you know, because, sneakers? Like, really?
You know, they're presenting it as if he's running a charity. So someone donating to a charity, yeah, that's all good. That's great. That's what you're supposed to do as a celebrity or whatever. But now every single clip in which Big U's talking about people donating to his charity is now being repurposed to basically say
extortion.
Look at this video of him talking about how he's extorting all these rappers and everything like that. I mean, but what I will say is that Big U allegedly was extorting people or taxing people all the way down to, I interviewed this rapper, SKG, and she told me that he was demanding money from basically extorting the food trucks outside of Crenshaw High, which sounds like such a low-level amount of money to be taken from somebody that it's kind of shocking, hard to wrap your head around. But I guess you can do that when these are people who are running businesses that are kind of on the edge of being illegal. Presumably these food carts didn't have permits to be there or whatever. But like somebody like Big U, if he was really getting down like they say he is, he's not trying to meddle in legal businesses. It's like you need some skin in the game in order to be able to do that to somebody. With somebody like you, it's like you're running a legal business. If he had tried that with me, you know what I'm doing? I'm going to the fucking cops and I'm saying, hey, this guy's trying to extort me. You want me to wear a wire? You want me to record this guy? I don't give a fuck. Like
you would wear a wire with Big U.
If he was trying to extort me, yeah, for sure. I'll do whatever. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I'm not a criminal. I didn't ask to be part of a criminal scheme. So yeah, for sure. I mean, if anybody were to try to do something like that, I would be happy to take it there.
I don't think I'd wear a wire. I think that, because look, for example, like Wack was mad at me for like 10 years.
Right.
I remember Big U even called me because Wack was mad at me over some comments I made, and he kind of he's like, y'all want to talk? And I'm like, not really. He's like, all right. So it's like, I just felt like if someone tried to extort me, I would just not pay. Now, if something happened, like my house got shot up or,
right.
like I got kidnapped or something like that, then yeah, I'm going to the police and I'm going to cooperate. But someone just saying something, I don't think I'd wear a wire and start to go through the whole process of trying to get them caught up and so forth.
If somebody tried to extort me and I believed what they were saying, then I'm pretty much just going to go the legal route. Like I'm not trying to play ball with a bunch of gangsters. I've seen this happen because there's like a guy I know who does weed events, and he did a weed event in this neighborhood at a random warehouse, and it's like a black market thing. It's not like a legal weed event. And some Mexican gangbangers showed up the morning of the event and basically said, like, hey, you got to pay your taxes or else we're going to make sure this event doesn't happen. He came out of pocket, he handed over some money, and it makes sense to extort a guy like that because this is a guy who doesn't really want to call the cops when he's doing tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of illegal business, essentially, out of this space. That being said, I'm just trying to run a podcast. So if anybody wanted to try some gangster shit like that for me, yeah, I ain't going.
Well, the story came out that you were raided by the feds right after Big U and them got arrested.
Yep.
Now, the feds did actually visit you.
Yep.
And what happened?
So I was playing poker at my house one day, and my girl actually intercepted the person ringing my buzzer outside. I didn't see it. She told him that I wasn't home. Basically, they wanted to serve me with a subpoena. Now, when I hear that, I get nervous. I call my lawyer. I'm like, hey, can you guys call this guy and figure out exactly what's going on with this? They had a series of questions they wanted to ask the feds to basically figure out what the nature of this was going to be. And I never even ended up having a conversation with them. They told me through my lawyer that they just wanted to cease and desist, that we had been sent by Big U in regards to Loose Cannon saying that Big U had advanced knowledge of Nipsey Hussle's murder on the podcast. Loose Cannon said that. We did, in fact, take it down because of the cease and desist because we just didn't want to deal with it. We ended up putting it back up after the RICO came down just because I figured that this was now a very important document. But the feds wanted to see
wait,
that.
so you put it back up?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we never even really took it down. We just put it on unlisted.
On private, yeah.
When I was looking at it, it still had like a couple dozen views per month the whole time that it was taken down. So there was definitely people still finding it. And even in the federal criminal complaint, they acknowledged that they had access to it, even though it was taken down, which I think we also might have left it on audio streaming platforms as well. So there was more than one way to get it. But they wanted the official cease and desist. I was actually asking Mo aka Lawyers for Workers, earlier today about why they might have wanted that. And, he said, for sure, they're investigating if Big U could have had any involvement in the Nipsey situation. But at the very least, that cease and desist could eventually be viewed as basically him trying to use the legal system to hide evidence of crimes that took place, if that were to be proven to have taken place. So it's very much the kind of thing that the feds would want to have their hands on, even if they never end up formally charging Big U.
Well, Brick Baby and Loose Cannon were also arrested.
And they are in federal jail right now.
Yeah.
Together. With Big U, allegedly.
All
of them together. Which is crazy, because think about what Big U probably thinks of Loose Cannon. Probably wants to beat the dog shit out of him for raising all these issues about him. I don't know if that's actually happened. But.
You don't think they're separated?
Well, according to Loose Cannon's wife, Sharice Mills, she said that they actually got in a huge brawl just the other day, but she said that it was with some enemies, which she should not be saying these things, but she said that. And I don't know if enemies in this situation means like blacks versus Mexicans. Does it mean a bunch of Crips versus some Bloods versus whoever? I don't know. But she said that they're all in there and they're duking it out with people in the feds.
Okay, because there's a rumor that Brick Baby and Loose Cannon are cellmates.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's pretty much confirmed. I mean, they're on the phone together, and it's like Loose Cannon, and then Brick grabs the phone and talks for a little bit, and then he hands it back to Loose Cannon. So they're very much having a good old buka party in there, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I ran into Brick Baby a couple days before he got arrested. I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, because Vlad was surveilling him, making sure he didn't leave town. No, it was
Try being the guy who had him on camera the night before he got picked up.
I know,
for
right?
Sure.
No, look, I was just randomly at the Beverly Center.
Yeah.
And it was like, he was like, yo, Vlad. I'm like, oh, shit. What up?
That's crazy. That's
like,
a good
it was
link
just, but you just think about it where it's like, what up? Gave each other a hug, chopped it up for a minute. And I'm like, you look back on it and think, he just had no idea what was about to happen. Like, none. He was happy, shopping, had some people with him. A couple days later, everything changes.
Yeah. And I mean, well, okay. On one hand, he had no idea this was coming. On the other hand, we all knew this was coming. Because roughly 2 years ago, right around the time Brick Baby started at No Jumper, he gets his house raided. They find an AK, allegedly. I think it was an AK. And he never got charges by the state. So according to a lot of people, there's two options. Either he was telling and he was able to make that charge go away because he offered up enough information, or it was going to be rolled up into a federal RICO at some point. And that's exactly what happened. And it's pretty wild to know that his phone was tapped for that whole time period. Because there was definitely a few times over the years where I thought about texting something to Brick, and then I thought to myself, like, is this the kind of thing that you would want law enforcement reading? And then I didn't say it. And I'm glad that I made those decisions over the years, because for sure could have been a little bit different. But yeah, we all kind of suspected that this was going to be coming at some point, to be real.
Yeah, it's sad. So is Brick actually charged the RICO?
No, his arrest was totally unrelated. They just kind of wrapped it all up together. But he's not involved, and that was my worst fear when I saw all this happening. And I was like, oh my God, Big U killed a dude and Brick was involved with it. He's not being alleged to have had anything to do with the stuff that they're putting on Loose Cannon and Big U.
Okay, so Loose Cannon is charged the RICO.
He is involved with like the extortion or the robbing of the weed dealer guy. What's his name? Dame? I forget. But yeah, he's more wrapped up in the stuff that but like the reason why Brick was being charged as part of the RICO is because Brick allegedly bought guns off of somebody who brought them from over state lines, and he's being wrapped up in that kind of thing. If you buy a gun that was manufactured in another state and it's brought over state lines, then we're officially talking federal charges.
Yeah, look, free Brick Baby, my newest regular guest. We did like 3 interviews. They all reacted well. It seems like my audience kind of was rocking with him, and then this happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things, like just the other day, there's a former No Jumper host named T-Rel who got his car repoed, and there was a video of it going around, and I was just thinking about it. I'm like, God, I miss Brick, because me and him would have been having a good old-fashioned ha-ha fest at that. That would have been good, but I feel like he could be out within like a week or something. Like he keeps saying that he's going to get bail soon. I don't really see why he wouldn't, based on his charges. So fingers crossed. He could be out by the time they see this.
Well, the No Jumper brawl.
Yeah, was also mentioned in the federal criminal complaint.
Okay. So you address this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just walk it down through your point of view.
Okay.
You are leaving your studio and you see these two guys.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
So I did my podcast with Wack, and then I'm leaving. Him, Loose Cannon, and maybe 10 of their other homies are all there. And some of my employees are still there. I'm kind of rushing out the door to go see my kid before she goes to bed. And I just leave. As I'm walking out the door, I see two older black guys, look like they're late 40s, maybe 50. I'm eyeing them down, and I say, hey, y'all here for Wack? They go, yeah. I'm like, okay. I walk up to them, I shake hands with them. I'm just kind of like feeling them out, trying to figure out if they're on some bullshit. They seemed meek. They didn't seem like they were there for some bullshit, right? So I call Wack. Wack says, oh, all right, I'm gonna go get them. I drive my car out of there. I'm driving home for probably less than 10 minutes. I'm less than 10 minutes away from the studio. One of my employees sends me a video of one of these guys getting the dog shit beat out of him. It's basically just like a little excerpt from the video that then everybody ended up seeing. And I'm asking him, like, what the fuck? Who are these guys? Why is this happening? I don't understand. And, I end up getting on the phone with Wack. He's trying to explain it to me, giving me the runaround, all kinds of shit. And I'm obviously not happy about this level of bloodshed taking place outside of my business. But, by the next morning, I'm kind of thinking, well, if the video's not out now, it's probably not going to come out. No. The video comes out by like the next afternoon, and obviously hell breaks loose and everybody's freaking out about it. And, there's a lot of different versions of the story. Because at first, the version of the story that this dude, Jay Reed, is putting out there, Jay Reed is kind of like the main one who's getting his ass beat. And then the other dude was the preacher, who I don't think was actually a preacher. At first, Luce was saying that these guys were from another hood and that they were banging their hood, and that's why they ended up beating the shit out of them. Those guys were saying that they thought that they had a business opportunity through the Dosh network, which Wack was pumping up, and that they thought that they were just showing up to do business. Wack says that that's not true. I don't know. All I know is that in that criminal complaint, it says that Luce pistol whipped and beat these dudes and took $5,000 or more worth of property from them, which in and of itself is kind of hard for me to wrap my head around because, what could they possibly have had on them that would be worth $5,000? Because I don't think those guys had guns. Maybe they took their phone. That's like $1,000. Maybe they had some money in their pocket, but they didn't really look to me like they were going to be walking around with $4,000 or $5,000 in their pocket. So what that says to me is that either way, it sounds like a crazy number, but it means that these dudes are basically telling the feds how much was taken from them and how much. I don't know. It kind of stands out to me as if there might be additional charges at some point here for Luce as a result of that brawl, which again, he could have got away with no evidence if he had just not put the video out.
Oh, he put out the video himself?
Well, to be fair, like his crew is called like IBM, Integrity Before Money, and which he actually gave me some merch for that brand, and I really got to find some of it because now all of a sudden Loose Cannon's like record label or crew stands out to me as a lot more iconic. But that was his little movement, and he has like a fan page that uses that IBM name, and they're the first ones who posted it. So I guess Luce thought maybe it would be less on him if he wasn't the first one to post it. I don't know if that really makes any sense, but yeah, basically he gave it to somebody to post.
Okay, so Jay Reed got attacked first.
Yeah.
And the guy with him got attacked as well.
They both got packed out.
Right, but the other guy got his pants taken off. Mm-hmm. That was the craziest part to me.
I mean, but I've heard you on other interviews acting so shocked by this. I mean, stripping people is kind of like par for the course in rap music.
Have you seen it before? Have you actually seen that before? I've never actually seen it. You've seen this actually happen in front of you.
I mean, for sure I've seen it just like in the streets over the years, but even worse, like, you know, there was I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to fuck his career up any worse than it already is, but there's a kid from Chicago who's like 15, 16, and a video came out of his ops caught him lacking, and they're beating the shit out of him with their guns. They strip his ass down to his underwear and make him walk home. So yeah, I've seen a lot of this shit over the years, but rappers are always talking about stripping people and shit. And yeah, it's ugly when it happens. It was kind of weird to see like a video version of it, but yeah, for sure I've seen a little bit of that over the years.
Okay, so the guy that got stripped, did he end up in a coma?
You know, they were saying that. I don't actually know if that's true. I haven't heard anything about it since around that time. So I would assume not, but there was a lot of rumors going around.
Okay. There's also a rumor that you were getting sued over this. No?
No. Well, I haven't heard anything. If that is the plan, you know, I wouldn't be super worried about it because it's like, what was my fucking involvement? I didn't invite Loose Cannon. I didn't invite these other dudes. They got packed out in the alley next to my building, not in my building. At one point, Wack was saying that they tried to like run up in the building talking shit, which I don't actually know if that actually is how this played out, but obviously if they entered my space being confrontational, then that would justify some kind of physical response, probably not stripping them naked and stealing all their possessions. But yeah, I haven't heard anything in terms of me getting sued for it or anything like that.
Well, Ruga, who I've had on my show a couple times, usually somewhat of a tense interview.
Even with you?
Even with me.
Oh, okay.
I mean, not quite the same with you, but then again, me and him have never done anything in person.
Right, okay.
We've always done a remote. So maybe the energy might be different if we're like sitting next to each other. But, I mean, it was always pretty respectful. I thought we even had a moment where I said, oh, GD Anthem's my favorite song right now. And he's like, really, rap it. And I'm like, all right. I actually rapped it
I seen
pretty
that.
much word for word. Yeah, when BDs come on my platform, I get a hard time over that. A situation actually happened where you guys got into an argument during the interview. Didn't he say, I'm going to smack you or something like that? Or
He challenged me to a duel.
to a duel. 10 paces, turn around and draw.
I mean, something like that. He wanted to shoot the fade out in the parking lot. I mean, what happened was I did an interview with Ruga maybe like a year ago, maybe longer than that. And before we did the interview, he had said something like, I don't want you to ask me about, I think it was beefing with Billionaire Black at the time, who they're both GDs from out there. They've been friends since back in the day. I don't know exactly where they stand or whatever, but he told me, hey, I don't want you to ask about that shit in the interview. And I think I had told him straight up, like, listen, I got to ask about it. Feel free to not really say shit. And then I did the interview, asked him about that. I felt like I didn't, take it to some crazy extent or whatever. Then when we got done, he ends up telling me, hey, I don't want to put the interview out because I don't like that we talked about Billionaire and that we talked about Durk, etc. And so I said, okay, I'll send it to you before we put it out. Interview comes out a week or two later. I forgot to send it to him. Now, I can apologize for that. That was fucked up. I owe it to my guest to give them a look through at the interview. I felt like, I remember thinking at the time, like, why would I not put this out? Like, you didn't say shit that matters, etc. People can go watch this interview if they want. But I do regret that. I owed him that respect by doing that interview. A little bit of a bad habit I think I had at the same time because I had an issue with Metro Boomin over the exact same thing. But then we didn't talk for a while, or we went back and forth on the internet a little bit, but then we end up having an interview scheduled with two of his JHE artists, basically like dudes that are part of his crew under him or whatever. And I'm thinking that he's not coming. At the last minute, he hits up Remo and says, hey, I want to come do the interview with them. Don't worry, it'll be cool. I'm not trying to be on Adam's head all crazy like that. I did get security last minute just to make sure that we were in a good situation. He comes through, we do the interview, and at a certain point, he kind of like just keeps trying to like put these like weird narratives on me. Like we both have different versions of reality in terms of, in particular, the fact that I had an internet spat with Wooski, who's like another famous GD from Chicago. We had gone back and forth. I felt like Wooski had provoked me in the situation. He's talking about Wooski like Wooski's a fucking angel. I wasn't agreeing with his narrative, to say the least, and I wasn't letting it go. You know, like if you really want to be cool with somebody and they give a version of events that you don't really agree with, you could kind of like just be like, okay, I apologize, or I kind of go along with their narrative. I felt like he was being disingenuous, so I was arguing with him, and he really didn't like it. The fact that I wasn't willing to go along with his version of events, which I thought was bullshit. And he got mad. You know, it's a podcast, it's a war of words. He didn't really want to do the war of words anymore. He wanted to fight. I told him, I'm not fighting you. I'm a podcaster, not a boxer. He got agitated. He tried to go outside, whatever. The security basically offered to fight him. I wasn't
Wait. The security offered to fight him?
Man, yeah, a lot of the security dudes in LA especially, they come from street backgrounds. They're not really taking disrespect lying down, like their attitude about it is not like, oh, you can just say whatever you want to me and I'm just here to uphold the law. No, he was ready to go. And to be honest, I think it would have been a bad day for Ruga because the security guard was pretty brawlic. But yeah, and I said I'm not gonna go fight you. That's not what I do here. I don't interview people and then just go fight them in the parking lot. I don't know why you would ever think that. And he left, and then I ended up interviewing the guys. Like a lot of people were critical of him because the guys stayed and did the rest of the interview. But for sure, that was a little bit of a heated moment.
So security had to step in and take him out.
I don't know if they had to, but they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I've done interviews with him twice. I got nothing bad to say. I just feel like he sometimes steps into these interviews and he could benefit from them more just taking a different stance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's all a performance in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how do you express that and still have a good rapport with the interviewer who's giving the platform to you, and you could utilize this and ultimately, I'm doing a promo run right now for the Vlad TV YouTube Masterclass. Like, I understand how certain platforms are important, how they move the needle. Like, when I do certain platforms, I get a lot more members and everything else like that. But getting into arguments with people or having some friction with the person who's doing the interview ultimately doesn't benefit you because you probably won't be asked back. Just, we like doing interviews with people we like doing interviews with. If it's sort of tense and uncomfortable and kind of cringeworthy and, like these long moments where there's nothing to say, it's like, I just do it with someone else, man. So, Ruga, my advice is just, man, just look at what your purpose is to do these things.
I've avoided dissing him after that because it wasn't, I don't have hard feelings about it. If he were to hit me up, I feel like we could be on good terms again. It ain't like super serious shit. But that being said, I've kind of realized doing so much Chicago content that there is a resentment with some of the GDs from Chicago because there's a lot of people who have never had anything to do with Lil Durk, who have never had anything to do with Chief Keef, who've never had anything to do with King Von, and they won't go anywhere near one of the GDs because they want to potentially in the future be able to work with some of these, the cool guy rappers, aka Durk, etc. And I mean, that's got to be a pretty shitty feeling to be somebody from Chicago and you're making pretty good music and you've worked with, a lot of legit people over the years, but when you reach out to somebody to do a feature or to work together, it's just doors slamming in your face. And it's not because these people are friends with the cool guy rappers like Durk and Von and Sosa or whatever. It's they just want to hold space for that in case that happens in the future. So I have some empathy for what dudes like FBG Young or Ruga have to deal with because I do think that it's kind of bizarre that they have to basically feel like they're blackballed by the whole industry without there being any like particularly legitimate reason for it. So if you ever have those kind of guys on your show and you notice that they seem like they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, I think it is a relatively well-deserved chip, because there's a lot of people out there who really are not trying to have anything to do with them, and it's not about any real personal relationships. It's just a straight up popularity contest. But yeah, I mean, I don't got nothing against Ruga. I feel like something could happen. We could be cool again at some point. I could see it.
I mean, you're right. Most of the major Chicago rappers are Black disciples.
You know?
So there is sort of a line where these guys are not doing songs with gangster disciples. I remember even talking to Lil Baby this one time, like when I interviewed him. And I didn't go into specifics, but I said, what if there's an artist you want to sign, but he's from the other side? He goes, I won't sign him. I said, really? This is the artist. Like, you got an ear for this thing. You signed Juice WRLD. Like, you signed Bloodhound Jeff before he passed. Like, you've had a track record for this thing. He's like, nah, I won't sign him.
If they're a total non-participant in the beef and shit, then I think he would sign him. But if you're somebody out here dissing people and all that shit, I mean, yeah, at a certain point for somebody like Bibby, it's just going to be so difficult to move around and to be able to have this artist around all of your homies, that I think that's, it's pretty easy for me to understand why that would be very difficult for him. That being said, I mean, it's kind of a weird situation because there's like way more GDs in Chicago than BDs, I guess. Like neighborhood-wise, it's just like they outnumber them. But then meanwhile, in terms of fame in the industry, the BDs are way bigger. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely it's a strange situation out there. I was just out there in Chicago, and we didn't have any issues or anything, but you feel that level of tension like everywhere you go, where everybody's kind of aware that something could go down at any given moment.
Well, in Atlanta, the newest thing that's happening is this potential Lil Baby 4 Pockets Full RICO.
Right.
And there was a video that's now circulating where there's this phone call being played where they're saying that Lil Baby is putting tickets on people's heads. Now, I just had 1090 Jake on my show yesterday. Well, no, last week, I mean, but it's dropping today, actually. And he kind of breaks down this whole case where it's like, this phone call is not even by Lil Baby's own people. It's by their ops.
Right.
So they're using this as a justification to somehow saying Lil Baby is, some big mafia boss putting hits out on people. And this whole thing started over, I think, Lil Baby shooting a music video in his rival's neighborhood, and I think like a shooting occurred or something. And to me,
not at the video shoot, but like
later on, yeah. I mean, to me, that was insane. For as big as Lil Baby is, you're still trying to prove how tough you are in the streets of Atlanta? Like, really? You're an international artist at this point.
Yeah, but at the same time, Marlo got killed, and I think that, I don't know if that's the only person that Lil Baby has a chip on his shoulder about, but, I understand it. It's like for Durk, it's not easy to just see Vaughn get killed in front of your eyes on camera and then just, never do anything about it. I mean, I think I would have the self-control to be able to have something like that happen and not retaliate, but I understand why that's so difficult. Like, I remember one time we were talking about, Free Brick Baby. I was talking about some situation similar to this with Brick, and Brick said, he's like, I mean, that's what the game is. You get money, and then you get your enemies knocked off. And like, he's not saying that he would do it, but he's saying like, you're in denial if you don't acknowledge that that is the mentality of a shitload of people in the streets. And once they have access to money, it becomes not less of a concern, but even more of a concern, because them being disrespected is even more of an issue. So, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me that Lil Baby is still wrapped up in that shit, because once you got loved ones who've been killed, I mean, it's very difficult to let that go. I think that if we've learned anything from the last couple of years of major RICOs and rappers being taken down and whatnot, it's that it might not be easy to let those things go, but you need to. Like, at a certain point, you can have dudes who are in the streets doing whatever, but you cannot have any real serious connection to them if they're out here trying to spin on people.
Well, yeah, and then Young Thug basically trying to support Lil Baby by posting the picture of one of the investigators, Marissa Viverito, almost caused him to violate his probation because the DA actually filed a motion to violate him, and the judge said this does not violate his probation, but he should be careful moving forward about certain topics. To me, that was kind of crazy for Young Thug to even do that. Like, seriously, you just walked away from potentially life in prison. You're on probation for like, what, 15 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Seriously, stay out of it.
No, for
Call
sure.
him up and support him, on the phone. What are you doing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like one thing that I realized from when I interviewed Young Thug in 2019 or whatever. He's just like, he acts on impulse. He's true to himself. He's not thinking about what's going to go viral. He's not thinking about what's going to violate his probation or whatever, his parole. He's just him. And if that's how he felt in that moment, then he's going to say it. And that's probably also an explainer for why he went on Twitter and said that young Scooter was killed by the police, that they shot him, which is pretty clearly not the case. It's like if Young Thug feels something, he's very likely going to hop on social media and say it. And but he definitely needs to reel it in. Like I would assume, or I've assumed previous to this, that there's somebody who's looking over his songs before he puts them out. He's only had a couple verses so far, one on the Baby album and one on the Cardi album, but they were pretty tame. Definitely wasn't talking about any crazy street shit. But I think Thug definitely needs to probably have somebody who's taking a look at his social media posts before he does them, just like he is with his music, because he's just like a very emotional person he's going to do whatever he wants to do at any given time. And I don't think he should be the sole person making decisions about what goes out to his many millions of followers on Twitter or whatever, because it's too much that he's playing with at this point. Like if he wants to stay out, he got to take some of those impulses and put some barriers between him and he shouldn't even have that shit on his phone. He should, if he wants to tweet something, he should text it to his manager and have them do a little review and then put it up. But as I say that, I realize how unlikely it is that Young Thug would actually take part in something like that, because that's just not who he is. He's just free as a bird in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost thinking that Young Thug might not have the self-control to make it through 15 years of probation, honestly. It's just like, can he make it? I mean, we're like, this is year one.
Yeah.
This is what, like maybe 3-4 months in?
Yeah.
Year one. There's already been a motion to say that he violated. Like, before pressing that tweet button, he knew that this could potentially be a problem.
Yeah,
like
he should have.
He's
I almost think that he
the
didn't
same
think about
people that put him in a jail cell.
Yeah, but I mean, many such cases, because my boy 4Extras, he just got locked up for basically hanging out in a gang area with other gang members. Like, that's one of the terms of his probation. He comes and he does his first interview out on No Jumper, and what's he talking about? He's talking about how he can't wait for his hood day in a week so that he could go to his hood day and hang out on the block with all his homies. And I'm sitting there like, this is exactly what you're not allowed to do. Like, you have to not do that if you want to stay out in the streets. And, if you're someone, a lot of these guys just have it in their head of like, I am an American. I have free speech. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, that all sounds good until you're on probation.
Nope. When you're on probation, you're technically in jail.
Yeah, exactly.
They just happen to let you do your time outside of the prison, which means you don't need a search warrant to go to your house. Mm-hmm. You show up whenever you feel like it. You get pulled over, you don't need a probable cause. The cop could tear your car apart. Mm-hmm. Oh, driver's license, you're on probation. Get out of the car.
Yeah, I feel
I'll tell you when I'm done.
That concept is a little abstract for some of these dudes to like really get through their head. It's like once they're free, they feel free and they want to be free. And the idea that their behavior is still being monitored and controlled by the state is very upsetting. And I get that, for sure. I get that. It would bother me too. But, they got to make better decisions if they want to stay out. I mean, hopefully Thug can have this be a one and done, and he won't have too many more issues like this. But, you know, he's basically just living in a prison, an external prison. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
I mean, when you listen to Lil Baby's album,
yeah,
I like the album. Some people don't like it. It did pretty well commercially.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a strong Lil Baby album, or do you think that, like, me and Academics talked, about this when I was on his podcast the other day, where he feels that, like, Lil Baby can't talk about all the stuff that kind of he wants to talk about, so it's a very kind of tame album, and that's why it's not really reacting to the level of other ones.
Yeah, but there's a lot of rappers, like somebody like Polo G got, all kinds of shit going on in the streets, but he don't really bring it to the music that much. Although I have had his ops on my podcast who tell me that he's talking shit about them in his songs. We don't understand it. But, I just listened to the Durk album. Durk, this is a soft-ass Durk album. There's no crazy drill songs on it. There's not that much hardcore street shit being talked about. It's a lot of R&B vibes and soft auto-tune type shit. And I mean, somebody like Baby, he can make music like that. He can make player songs, club songs, cool, laid back, weed smoking songs, sure. But yeah, there is an additional fan base that will turn up if they know that you're talking about crazy street shit. You can very easily imagine that if there was one song on the Baby album where he was talking about spinning and getting back and all this kind of shit, that it probably would have ignited a lot of conversation that didn't happen. But, really props to him for having the self-control to not go there.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Academics about this, right? So on the album, there's a song called Monitoring Me. And Lil Durk says, I don't even got to pay a N-word to do nothing. I got killers, all my friends. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Why would you put this on your album?
Okay, I stand corrected. That's a federal ass lyric.
Yeah, but what Academics explained to me was that song was already released before.
Oh, well, that's good.
Before the arrest. So he was probably like, well, it's out. If I put it on here, I don't put it on here, doesn't matter. It's out. I mean, so let's put it on here. But then again, you're literally rapping a verse that you're in jail over.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, you're rapping a verse about your friends being killers, and you're in jail because your friends killed somebody.
Right.
You can't say, I don't know these people. No, these are your friends. Some of them are.
I mean, a couple of years ago, Durk put out an album, and at the very beginning, he said, like, this is not real. This shit is all cap. And then you listen to the album, and it's like every song has like these vivid descriptions of murders and all kinds of crazy shit, So I guess you got to give it to him that, now that he's in this situation. And when he put that album out and a lot of his other albums, that is what went through my head. Is like, oh, wow, like he's facing charges for that shit in Atlanta with Vaughn and Bezu and whatever. And like, I'm like, how the fuck is he really putting albums out like this? Because I know that if I was facing a charge about some violent shit, and if I went to my lawyer and I said, hey, what should I say and what can't I say on this album? I mean, they would probably be very, very restrictive. They would probably name off a whole host of different things that I would be wise not to say. And, it feels like, I think Durk, this is the most self-control he's probably ever exhibited on a project. Granted, he's not even out to finalize this project or whatever, but I mean, yeah, this is the kind of thing that dudes got to deal with. So my hat's off to him for putting out an album that strays away from a lot of that stuff because it is beneficial to him right now. But at the same time, I listened to the album once and I'll probably never listen to it again. It was not my favorite Durk project.
Really? I liked it.
Really?
Yeah, like I Can't Hide It with Jhené Aiko was like in a constant repeat.
Ooh.
I love that song.
I didn't make it through the whole song.
Okay, well, and this is coming from someone who, I think Lil Durk said fuck Vlad on 2 different albums. Mm-hmm. At least one, but someone pointed out some other ones, so I think it's 2.
Does he mention you again on the new one?
No.
No, okay.
Not that I heard.
I was going to rewind a song because I thought he said your name, but then I didn't. Okay.
Did he?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Probably not. Not if you didn't hear about it.
I didn't hear it. But then again, Eminem mentioned Vlad on one of his albums, and I'm like, is that about me?
Was it a fuck Vlad or was it?
Kinda. He said, I smacked Vlad with an ISIS flag. And I'm like,
It's not a nice thing to do to a Jewish guy.
Yeah, well, I looked it up, and there was some guy named Vlad from like Sweden who like walked with an ISIS flag. Like, it was a weird situation. There was something with an ISIS flag and Vlad somewhere in the news, but it was very obscure. And when it comes to hip hop, I'm kind of the biggest Vlad in hip hop, right?
Sure.
So I'm like, I think it's about me, but I don't know anyone around him to ask. Like, I don't have anyone close to Eminem that'd be like, oh yeah, I'll just call him. Let me ask him. Like, no, I don't know anyone like that. So
very few people are that close to him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I got Paul Rosenberg's number, but I don't think he would be too eager to do that detective work for me.
Well, young Scooter died in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah.
And a former contestant of Baddies, Demetria Spence, made a 911 call and falsely accused, well, not him, but a group of fictional men abusing a woman, which caused some police to show up to this apartment complex, and then he went off running, and then he ends up breaking his leg and dies, and so forth. There was the whole thing about, did he get shot or did he break his leg? Because I interviewed Swamp Izzo,
Saw that.
who basically, did his first mixtape, was his DJ, kept pushing him. They were super close. He said when he got to the hospital, Scooter's mom told him that the doctor told her that he had been shot.
That's what the actual doctor said.
Really?
The doctor said it.
He told you that?
His mother. And I'm talking to his son, and his son says his leg is broke. So I'm asking her, like, he's saying his leg is broke. They never said that. And she said, no. They said he's been shot. I said, he's been shot. She was like, yeah, he has a lot of blood in his chest area. He's been shot. But his son is telling me that his leg has been broken. So that was the confusing part.
But then later on, it was like he broke his leg.
Okay.
And the official coroner was, his leg was broken. But then now they're saying the family hired a private coroner to go through, and they're saying it was a shooting. To me, it's like, it doesn't,
Wow.
well, it makes no sense, because it's like the actual medical examiner knows the difference between a bullet wound and a broken leg.
Yeah.
Or a puncture into the leg through a fence. Like, it's not, I could probably tell you the difference.
And it just seems like the least likely scenario in which anybody would ever think they could get away with a cover-up. If there was a cover-up, it would probably be, dozens of police officers all having to work together, and medical people, the ambulance crew, the coroner, et cetera. Like, the idea that they're just pulling the wool over our eyes seems extremely unlikely to me. But yeah, I mean, I can't think of a weirder way to die. I've hopped a lot of fences throughout my life, riding BMX bikes. That was just kind of like an everyday thing, having to hop fences over and over and over. The only thing that occurred to me was like, a lot of times you'll see a fence with like razor wire or barbed wire on top of it. That's a fence you leave the fuck alone, because that shit is terrifying. But I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine. I guess maybe if I saw the crime scene, I could kind of figure out how this took place. But I mean, a lot of times when people die in hip hop these days, it's like, you're kind of like doing the homework behind the scenes to be like, holy shit, who was this guy? Because I somebody passed away and I never really listened to him. That's the opposite of it with me and Scooter. Like, I was such a huge fan of him. I've been trying to interview him up until my most recent time in Atlanta. He made it clear to me that he's like just not really into the interview thing, and that he preferred to keep his mystique. But man, that was like always just one of my favorite rappers, one of the most bizarre lyricists ever. Just the extreme hyperbole, the metric tons. He just like really painted this picture of him as this drug kingpin that's still to this day. It's hard for me to imagine that he wasn't a drug kingpin. Like, even when I heard about the scenario, I'm thinking, well, it's gotta have been a trap house, right? Because it's like, his lyrics just immersed you into the idea that he was this drug god to such a crazy extent, but just seemed like such a good guy. Had so many relationships with so many big artists. Even like, yesterday I was just watching a bunch of the most recent videos on his channel, and, he had a song with Future from a year ago with 10 million views. It's like a lot of these guys just continued to have like a real relationship with him over the years. The one thing that I was a little surprised about was Gucci. I don't want to be wrong about this. I hope I'm not wrong, but I don't believe that Gucci said rest in peace Scooter, because Gucci signed him at one point. He signed to both Future and Gucci, but there was a relatively recent Young Scooter song, or in the last couple of years, where he said, "I'll probably never do another song with Gucci Mane." That was the most I heard him speak on any kind of rift between them. But I always wanted to get to the bottom of that and know exactly what took place with them. Now, obviously, Gucci falls out with everybody, but
he kind of does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very. You see the way he moves. He moves with very, very few people around him, and I never really heard any information about that. But yeah, I mean, shit. Rest in peace, bro. That was just one of my favorite rappers. I really need to go back and watch like the interviews that he did do many years ago. But Scooter, such a legend.
I've interviewed him before.
Yeah,
there's a couple of Vlad TV,
right?
yeah, Scooter interviews, and then I remember at one point he called me and Academics to police.
Oh, well,
yeah. So then that was pretty much it for our interviews.
Standard rapper stuff.
Yep. The 50 Cent Big Meech situation. What'd you think of that?
Well, again, I was just talking to Mo Gangat of Lawyers for Workers, and he was going crazy telling me that it's total bullshit. The Big Meech did not snitch, that there's no good information to suggest that he did, and that this is all manufactured. You're not going for it.
Well, I mean, look, I had 1090 Jake on my show the other day. It's running right now. And is there paperwork that says Big Meech told on this guy and he did 30 years? No. But there is what appears to be an implication of this woman, Tammy Cohen, who he sold his life rights to, who is a federal cooperator. That's established. And she appeared to have taken some information from Big Meech and try to work with authorities to try to get Meech's sentence reduced. And she even said, and this is in the paperwork, that Meech was like, keep my name out of it. Right? So it seems like there was some level of cooperation that is implied, but isn't 100% proven, but seems more likely than not. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
This is what Mo was saying to me too, is that he got 30 years. They go back, the sentencing guidelines kind of like keep dropping, and they went back and they got the 30 turned into 24, and they got the 24 turned into 21, and then he ended up doing so much time that it doesn't really appear that he was given leniency. He was just, in a situation where people don't get as much time for drug trafficking. He got an absurd sentence for drug trafficking.
25 years.
Yeah.
Well, he took a plea deal.
Exactly, but that's just like a lot more than a lot of people would get in this day and age.
Well, we have an interview with him. Like one of my guys, Cavario, did an interview with him over the phone, and he sort of explained it, because it's like 25 years seems crazy, but you go to trial and you lose and you get a life sentence.
Right.
25 years, you have a release date. And both the brothers took that same plea deal. What's funny is my man Drew Findling, who I interviewed, was his lawyer at the time. And I remember like Meech was saying, I was like, yeah, I spent all this money on a lawyer, and my brother Southwest T got a public defendant. We both got the same deal. At the end of the day, I probably should have saved my money. But you take the 25 years. Number one, you did it. All right, let's just take a step back. Let's just take a step back. Yeah. It's not like Big Meech was this successful legal businessman and a car dealer, and for some reason the feds are just thinking he's a drug dealer, and it's just not true. He's never even done weed. He's this totally square legal guy, and they're trying to say he's a drug kingpin. Of course you would fight that. But it's like, all right, man, I've been doing this shit. I've had billboards in Atlanta since the world is BMFs. There's a whole drug operation. Everyone's cooperating. I've interviewed, Sosa and, you know, J-Bo and all these other guys. I know Blue Da Vinci. Like, it was no secret. I remember even when I was hanging out with these guys in 2004, I'm looking around and go like, these are all drug dealers.
Right.
Like, and I'm realizing this right now as a regular, you know, kid who grew up in the suburbs. You think the feds don't know they're drug dealers? You think I'm the only one that's figured this out? Right? So you did it, and you have a chance to get a release date. It comes with 25 years, but look, both the brothers are out now.
Right.
It kind of worked out. If they had gone to trial and gotten life, they would still be in there. So it's not that crazy.
No, for sure. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not anywhere near as deep into the BMF thing as you are. I know you interview mad people from it.
I am.
I never seen the show. I've been thinking about.
I've hung out with Big Meech. Like, not hung out with him. I was at his house. He was there. We had a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super deep into it, but I do think that it feels to me like people kind of rushed to judgment. Like it was, you know, people wanted him to be a snitch more than it really mattered if he actually was. I'm still kind of on the fence about it. That being said, 50, you know, in a way, I kind of envy the way he beefs with people, where he'll just take it to your dying breath, and even afterwards, in the case of Herb Gotti.
Yeah.
That being said, like, I just don't really feel like I got it in me, you know, to beef with somebody past their date of expiration. You know, I've had some pretty drawn out beefs, but usually I just kind of get over it at some point. But I understand, you know, 50's he's like a 48 laws of power kind of guy. Like he wants to destroy you completely. Yeah. And he actually wrote a book with the author of 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah,
but
I have it.
Right.
I was actually there
never read that. I want to read
at the book signing where he signed the book and everything. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel like I got that in me. If anything, I feel like anytime I start to believe my own hype and fall into the beefing and just, you know, just going super hard on people, I don't know. I feel like that usually doesn't end well in life in general. So I try to kind of, if somebody wants to squash the beef with me, normally I'm happy to do so. Besides, you know, a handful of notable exceptions, but I don't know. I just like, I'm holding out hope that he didn't actually do it. But one thing is for sure is that when 50 says you snitched, you might as well have snitched, because his voice is so loud and people love seeing someone that famous beefing on the internet, and he's very funny with the way he handles it. So, you know, I as soon as 50 labels you a rat, I feel like it almost doesn't matter if you are. And, well, Mo was telling me that 50 removed all of the posts in which he called Big Meech a rat. Which, if he removed all of them, that's pretty interesting, because that makes it seem like he's trying to avoid a lawsuit.
I mean, but 50 removed stuff anyways.
That's
like,
what I said, yeah.
Yeah, like, me and 50, before, like, Tony Yayo was a regular guest on the show, like, there was some light, not really a back and forth, but there were some things that I'd put up that I think annoyed him, and he had, you know, I remember this one time, because I done some interviews with Jimmy Henchman, and he was, I think, upset about that.
Okay.
So he had posted up a picture of one of the guys that does bookings for me, Mafi, and he was like, yeah, you know, Vlad's employee just got his face slashed. I guess that's what happens when you know, mess around street shit. So I called him Mafi. I'm like, yo, you okay? He's like, I'm fine. Nothing happened to me. I have no idea what's going on right now. Like,
yeah.
It was just like, huh? he really was like, no, really, like, nothing has happened to me. So then Fitz took it down. You know, and it was like, okay, our bad, like, you know, whatever. Like, 50, I ran to 50 on a plane. We chopped it up.
Yeah.
It was cool. And 50's like, the thing about 50 is I think he's just smarter than most of these other guys. Like, these guys who he's beefing with, he's actually smarter than them all. Like, have you ever had a conversation with 50?
No.
Yeah, 50's really, really sharp. Like him, Jay-Z, there's a couple people where you're like, as soon as you start talking to them, you're like, oh, okay, like these guys are uber intelligent. They just sometimes have a presentation that makes people think sometimes they're not, that they're just like crazy and, you know, they crash out. But no, like all these moves are calculated. Like, if you look at 50, aside from a couple of lawsuits, you know, like the whole sex tape thing with Ross's baby mother, like he lost that lawsuit. But in general, he pretty much wins everything. And I think even that lawsuit, I think he sued his lawyers and won.
Right.
Like there's a bunch of you know, there's a lot of wins under what he does.
Yeah, 50's like pretty much like my favorite rapper from like my favorite era of being a rap fan. You know, that sort of early 2000s era of just him coming out. Like I was a huge fan of him before he signed to Aftermath and everything. And that's definitely one person that I would just be overjoyed to have a conversation with or get to hang out with or whatever. I've never actually managed to make contact with him, but I feel like in a lot of ways I learned so much about being a man from 50's content that I just feel like at some point I got to meet him. But yeah, I don't know. I never had a conversation with him. I respect the way he goes about it. It feels like most people in his position at a certain point just choose not to do that. I mean, look at somebody like Jay-Z. Are Jay-Z and 50 Cent on the exact same level? No, but they're one of the, of the top 5 or top 10 goats of all time in this space. And, you could not get Jay-Z to post something on his Instagram, if he even has an Instagram, I can't remember, but you couldn't get Jay-Z to air out somebody on his Instagram and make posts about them and laugh at them, in particular after death. 50, you don't give a fuck. And I really respect that about him, because so many people, they think that growing up is never engaging in this kind of stuff. And, I think it's fair for somebody like him to still want to do battle in the public eye. And I appreciate it. But I mean, also, he's somebody who's had a lot of people try to take him down over the years, and it's just never worked.
Right.
So nobody's ever really took too much out of his sales,
Well, when I had Boosie on my show, he said that if he was Lil Meech, he'd be like, fuck 50, I'm riding with my dad. I don't give a shit. Right or wrong, that's my dad.
Lil Meech, I ain't like his response, but it seemed like he got a genuine kind of love for 50 on his response. But, my response, nigga, fuck you, nigga. Nigga, that's my daddy. Fuck you. Nigga, let's go to war, nigga. Fuck you. And everything you, fuck you. I don't know what Meech was on something. Nigga, that's my paw. I don't give a right, wrong, nigga, I don't give a is it? My son, I ain't gonna go against this grain. That. I was like, damn, seemed like him and 50 got a, because after that then came out how Meech was talking all, no, all y'all. I'm with my dad, I ain't like his response, but seemed like he got a genuine love for 50 Cent on him, and from when I was reading it, like he seemed like he caught in the middle, but like he caught in the middle. That's what it seemed like from me reading it, but I'd have been like, fuck you.
Right, because it's your father.
It's my dad, and fuck you.
And 50 actually posted that video and responded. He said, I did more for Mimi, Lil Meech, than anyone in his life, Boosie. That's why he responded like that. If he gets locked up, I'm the first person he called. Bailed him out every time. When I saw him laughing at his pop post, I said, oh shit, he a snake too. He belonged with him. And like me and Tony A were talking about how Lil Meech burned through like $5 million by buying $10,000 Chrome Heart jeans.
That interview was how I found out that there's $10,000 Chrome Heart jeans.
I think everyone found out from that interview. Like that became a thing.
I was looking at the Chrome Hearts website trying to find these jeans. I found pairs for resale at like 25, 30K.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole world out there. I've seen people wearing these jeans over the years and never even thought twice about it.
You didn't care.
And now I'm realizing, like, oh, you had a car on your lower body. That's amazing. Shout out to you for that shit. I could never. I feel like I'm balling out when I buy, a $200 pair of jeans. I mean, to me, that's a lot of money. Even $1,000 pair of jeans at Gucci or whatever is just like, goddamn, that's a lot of money.
I mean, you did come in here wearing a Prada jacket.
Yeah, I took it off. It was too hot. But my girl brought me that for Valentine's Day. I'm over all the designer shit. I don't like that shit anymore.
Really? I like it still.
Yeah, I know you did. But
on Drink Champs, I wore a Gucci leather jacket, which was, I don't know, worth these days, like maybe about $5,000-6,000.
You bought it back in the day, or is it vintage?
No, I bought it back in the day. Oh. Like I bought it from the Gucci store maybe like 2012.
Oh, okay, wow.
But the thing for me is like certain pieces like that I know that 10, 20 years later I can still wear it and it's still fresh.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right? Chrome Heart is sort of it's a weird thing. I think it's so expensive because it's so rare. They only make a few copies of it. So then when it comes to resale, you could actually get, I remember, some guys, who was wearing it explained to me, it's like, oh yeah, this is a lot, but then I could resell it for more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that type of thing. But when you're buying all these pairs for yourself and you don't really have a career outside of the BMF TV show, this is a problem a lot of people get into.
I would way rather be the kind of guy getting pussy off wearing regular ass jeans than having to trot around town and that shit. Cause listen, like I remember seeing a scene in an old Shane Dawson video where he goes to Jeffree Star's house. Jeffree Star got a room way bigger than this room, but it's a closet. And it's just wall to wall Birkin bags and just expensive ass handbags, $10, $20, $40, $50,000 bags. And I'm looking at it like, bro, that's the stupidest shit I ever seen. And my girl's kind of explaining it to me. She's like, those things hold their value. Like they're gonna gain
bags?
value. Like that's like, it's the kind of thing that, it's not like he can only use a very tiny percentage of these, but it's probably better for him to be having all of his liquidity wrapped up in this than just sitting in the bank or whatever, which I guess myself, I'm just not really like drawn to expensive shit. But if you are, then shit, I respect it. But that to me is just the pants. Like every pair of pants I wear, I'm getting ash on them. I'm spilling coffee on them. I'm spilling food on them. I'm getting pre-cum on them, regular cum, post-cum, everything. Like I'm just fucking them things up. So I don't know. The idea of having $10,000 jeans is just so mind-blowing. I've never had $10,000 worth of clothes on my body ever.
Oh yeah, I have. Including,
I don't wear jewelry. I heard Act damn near clowning me because I don't got a watch. I'm like, I don't want to watch. I can't do it. It's uncomfortable for me. I don't want that on my arm. Like to me, all these possessions just weigh you down.
I remember back in the day, the craziest shit I'd ever seen at that point in my life when it comes to clothes. I was hanging out with Busta Rhymes. We had just did an interview, and he was like, "Oh, come hang out with me. We'll go to the club afterwards, whatever else." We hop outside, we jump into his Rolls Royce Phantom, and we go to this apartment in Midtown Manhattan. We go up the elevator, the apartment opens. It's like a 2-bedroom apartment, completely filled with clothes. Just racks of clothes that are dry cleaned.
He had an apartment just for this?
Just for the clothes. Wow. You could not fit a bed in there. You could not fit a coffee table. There was no couch. You walk around. It's like a warehouse in the apartment of just clothes. Now, granted, Busta Rhymes is considered one of the great hip-hop performers of all time. He's always being booked. He's always on stage. I get it. But it was just wild because I was just broke during that time, right? I was barely scraping by, and I'm seeing this going like, wow, this is next level. Like, this is a whole apartment just with clothes. It's a clothes apartment in Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing right there. If you're a rapper, you're a performer, you just can't really be the like plain jeans and a white t-shirt guy for the rest of your life. You're just going to get judged for it.
Unless you're J. Cole.
Yeah. J. Cole can get by with a Nike tech for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like when he came to Melrose that one time, he was just wearing like a little Nike sweatsuit.
Right.
Regular shit. But I mean, I've realized that about myself, which is that nobody gives a fuck about if I'm wearing crazy clothes or whatever. So now, like I used to like get clothes in the mail all the time from different brands, and I would go through them and pick out a shirt here, a shirt there that I like. Now I'll get a shirt and I'll like literally just wear it like 50 times. And just over and over and over, and I just wear it. And like I'm just not, I don't know, I'm just like, I fell out of the interest that I previously had on like constantly wearing different clothes. I just see clips of myself from a couple years ago, and it's like, why was I wearing a lime green varsity jacket that somebody sent me in the mail? Like I just don't need to be doing that. Like I'm just wearing the same shit every day. If a brand, I really, brands tell me, they're like, you're one of the best people to give shit to, because if we give you a jacket, you're gonna wear that shit like 20 times.
Sauce Walka, who you had on your show.
Yep. With Sharp. Not
with
me.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
I remember with Sauce, there was like 2 times we were supposed to do an interview, and he ran late. He was so late that we had to cancel. And then we talked about doing a show together, but he was asking more than made financial sense. He's like, well, you can't just, it's culture, like it's more than money. And I'm like, yeah, but it's also views. And you get about this many views, so I can't offer you this much because of the views and so forth.
You want 10 bands?
I think so, yeah. I think he wanted 10, and I think my offer was 5. And we just couldn't come. And I was like, listen, you do know that on 2 different occasions, you wasted my time and money. So that's like $5,000 that I wasted just from you being late. So how about we, you keep it fair this time considering your past actions, and if it does well moving forward, we could raise it. He's like, nah, it's going to be this much. I'm like, all right, that's cool. We don't always, people don't always agree to a price. Life goes on. And I'm like, how about I pay you what you paid, what No Jumper paid you? And it's like, No Jumper didn't pay you, and I already know that, so. But anyways, I had to just throw that in.
No, but the thing about that was, because he basically like made a little, like he came into the interview for a few seconds. Like I think me and Wack were doing a podcast, and he came in right after he did the interview with Sharp on the other side. Me and Sharp no longer work together, but he came in with Sharp and was basically like, what he revealed to me in that moment was that he wasn't feeling it, and he was offended when I on here said that I wanted to do content with Sauce, that I was willing, I would get a pint of lean. We could just have a good old fashioned sit down, whatever. He was offended by me mentioning the pint of lean, even though I don't really understand why, because it's like, you like lean, I like lean. I don't drink anywhere near as much lean as you, but I can have a good time drinking some lean. I thought that would be a good way for us to bond. You ever heard of mud buddies? That's what I thought we could have been. We could have been mud buddies. We get muddy together. We're buddies after. I don't know, but he used that against me in that conversation and made it as if I was on some, rich white guy belittling him type shit, when actually I was just naming a common interest. And I mean, I know that Sauce isn't just hyping it up for the camera, because after he got shot, there was the clip of him pouring up. Like the first clip that came up of him after he got shot was him pouring up with all these dudes or whatever. So, I'm a huge Sauce fan, regardless of him feeling a sort of way towards me or whatever. I think he's a great guy, legendary rapper, and I wish the best for him. So even though he didn't take that comment too kindly, I didn't mean it in any kind of disrespectful way.
Okay, wait. So before we go on and talk about the situation, was Sauce Walka in a porn movie?
Yeah, homemade.
Remember I sent you like a clip. I'm like, is this Sauce Walka?
Yeah.
I feel like you didn't respond.
Really? Oh, because
Yeah.
I seen it. I seen, I don't remember if it was the No Jumper Reddit or something, but I definitely seen a clip of him butt naked, beating some shit up. And I mean, he said that he made $1 million off of this one white girl that he signed during the pandemic. Like, I think during the pandemic, all the shows go away, studios shut down, whatever. I think that was his way that he kept the money coming in, was that he became one of these OnlyFans guys down there in Texas. I don't know. It must be very ripe, because he's finding all kinds of talent that is not being utilized by other people. But, at one point he was serving some dick up, which I was surprised by, just because I feel like in the pimp world, if you're making money using your dick, then that is very much looked down upon. Now, I'm not saying that Sauce Walka 100% abides by the pimp code, but you listen to his music, you hear the way he talks. He's into the whole pimp player culture. That's a thing for him. So I was surprised that he did that. But as somebody else who has done it, I mean, it's an incredibly easy way to make money if you're comfortable having sex on camera, which apparently he is. I don't know how he would perform in a real deal porno movie or anything like that. But I mean, if you can do it, that shit's easy. So I don't know why. I feel like more people should do it.
He was caught up in a situation where his artist Say So P was shot to death.
Yeah.
In Memphis, and he was actually shot in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, he did a video where he's actually performing in a wheelchair at a concert. And there was a lot of weird stories about this. They're saying that Say So P ran off with like $200,000 in drug money, and that was a retaliation. The fact that it happened in Memphis was kind of crazy. Is Say So P from Memphis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then one of the guys who allegedly killed him ended up dead in Houston.
Where Sauce is from.
Where Sauce is from.
And where this guy apparently decided to go to hide out.
Yeah, you go and hide out where the guy you shot is from and has a big cult following.
Strange.
Out of
Strange
all the
decision,
places,
yeah.
there's Oregon, there is various cities in Ohio,
Yeah.
there's Nebraska.
Many states.
You rarely hear of people who kill rappers dying in Nebraska.
No, yeah.
I've just never heard that story before.
Yeah.
Nebraska. Yeah, go find yourself a nice cornfield somewhere and just lay low for a while.
Yeah, yeah. It goes down in Nebraska too, though.
I'm sure it does.
I know some
Shout out
gang
to
members from
Nebraska, but you
Nebraska,
know, there's actually a second suspect named Kevin Brown, allegedly, who is still at large.
Okay.
I saw the video. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of this whole situation?
I mean, it's pretty crazy too, because like apparently they were only outside because they wanted to go smoke a blunt, and for sure I've been in this situation. Like when I was in Atlanta, you know, we got security when we're going out and moving around and going to film a vlog with Woody in the hood and all that kind of stuff. We got security, but you know, when we're just like going downstairs to smoke at midnight before we go to bed or whatever, we don't have security. We're just kind of out there, and you know, certain areas feel a lot hotter than others. Like me, even in Atlanta, it's like we're going downstairs to smoke a blunt at midnight, and I got like, you know, 15 people that see me and say hi. The hotel we were at didn't happen to have like a back area. We were kind of forced to go out in front of the building to smoke or whatever. But I guess that's what they were doing. They didn't feel like waiting for security to pull up before they went and smoked. But I mean, it's a sad situation. I don't know exactly. Like, I don't want to put that on Say So P that he was a robber or whatever, because I know his parents put out a statement saying that it wasn't true and everything like that.
Like his parents would know.
Yeah,
I'm
they
just
wouldn't
saying.
know. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Mom, I robbed someone for $200,000 a couple days ago.
Yeah.
What do you want for Christmas? You want a new car?
Yeah.
The money from robbing a drug dealer. That's where it came from.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody, though. It's our secret.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm very sorry for this grieving mother. Like, I get it. I can't imagine losing a child. Like, I can't imagine. It's against the order of things, right, when it comes to nature. I get it. I'm not minimizing her pain. But to say, let me tell you and dispel these rumors about all his street activities just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right, because you see that exact thing happen all the time when people get killed and the parents are, oh, he was such a good boy and he never did anything to anybody. The next day, music video comes out, they're rapping about killing ops and all this shit, and it's like,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy situation, man. I mean, it's wild that you've gotten as far as a Sauce Walka, right? To really start from the bottom and really, like, he's never really signed to anybody. It's a very organic fan base, you know. I remember that song, I'm Too Legit to Quit It. Like, he's been doing it for a while. I think Obama even put one of his songs on his, like, yearly playlist and so forth, and really getting his money up, getting his fans up, his shows, his features, and almost be killed because you're still sort of in this crazy element. You sign a rapper who you don't quite know what his background is or what kind of bullshit he's involved in. I mean, you gotta assume that the fact that he walked away and this guy was shot to death was probably a premeditated hit over that guy.
I mean, they said that the dude was standing over him and basically realized it was Sauce and walked away, which...
But then you saw the video, none of that occurred.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like Rainwater was kind of exaggerating with all that. But yeah, no, but I mean, one thing about Sauce, though, is it's like, he's really outside, hella jewelry on, doing his thing. He's really like in the streets. Like, he might be like very well known as a rapper and he gets shows and he puts out videos that do decent numbers and everything. But man, this dude is really out here just doing it, like living life, not really acting like the way you would expect somebody of his profile to act. And, you know, for me, I'm somebody where, you know, I was in O Block like a month ago or whatever, a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't even worried about it. I had one security with me, but I feel like I'm being taken care of by these guys who are leading me around their area. I feel like I don't have that much to worry about. But then when you see that situation with Sauce, you realize, like, there's a lot of ways that this could go down. It doesn't have to be somebody stalking and killing you. It could just be you hanging out with somebody who's got issues with other people. And the way that they do it these days, they ain't going to just shoot a couple times. They're going to pull up with a switch and they're going to dump 30 shots at you. And that is a very interesting or very important thing to keep in mind is that there's a lot more ways to go aside from just somebody wanting to take you out.
Well, in the state of Texas, you also have the Lil Baby situation,
Yep.
who is now charged with capital murder for the death of Mo3. Capital murder means that there's a death penalty going along with this charge,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Now, the alleged murderer, well, the guy who got convicted for killing him is now doing interviews in jail and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
It just seems like a bit of a weird case. Like the fact that he's actually arrested and charged with what he's charged with, and you're going off of a guy who's already locked up for it, and some of the other evidence is like, oh, he took $40,000 out of his account. And I'm looking at it going like, that doesn't mean you're putting a hit out on somebody.
Yeah, he's a rapper.
Like, yeah, $40,000.
He could have said he needed that for the strip club.
Strip club, you want to buy some jewelry and cash, you got some side chicks, you got to give them some money, you don't want a paper trail with cash apps or whatever the hell else you use.
If I was going to pay somebody to kill somebody for me, for sure I am not withdrawing the entire amount at one time from the bank account.
Right.
You know, like, I'm just going to find another way to get my hands on that money, even though I know they probably want to get paid right away.
Yeah, let me do some shows, get it in cash, not really,
There's got
hard
to
to
be
trace.
a better way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot who said this. I think was it Trap Boy Freddy who said that BZ had like sold everything he has in order to like make bond, because originally the bond was $2 million. They got lowered to $750,000. So I guess you put up $75,000, but then a lawyer, a capital murder case.
Whew. 6 figures for sure.
Well, because I just interviewed Joe Tacopina,
So
who was ASAP Rocky's lawyer.
$2,400 an hour.
$2,400 an hour. I just talked to Joe this morning, actually. Me and him were kind of becoming friends. Like,
I didn't know that, what was it, Lil Kim or was it Foxy Brown shouted them out on
Foxy
a song back in the
Brown,
day?
yeah.
That's legendary. I didn't know that.
Johnny Cochran put him under his wing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, he actually said that he called me. He was like, yo, out of all the interviews I've ever done, way more people have hit me about this interview, between like people he knows and clients and like potential clients and so forth. And I'm like, oh, you're working with Wendy Williams. She's like, yeah, she sent me one of those clips. And I just got off the phone with her. So it's like, there's the cool thing about working with certain people. It's like him, Drew Finling. So now it's like I have these guys in my Rolodex. So like Drew Finling, he referred this other lawyer to me and she's like great. And and Joe Tacopina, I'm asking about some advice about some other stuff. He's like, oh yeah, let me, I'll run it by my coworkers. I'll get back to you. Just
Wait till that bill comes in the mail.
$2,400, huh?
Well, I just know that my dad told me as a kid that he had a friend who was a lawyer, and my dad would just hit him up and ask him some random shit, and then one day the bill came in the mail, and he realized like
That's not random.
You gotta be careful what you ask your lawyers, because I used to be in that mentality too. I would get a deal from a brand or whatever, and I would just send it to my lawyers like, hey, can y'all review this? And then at some point I realized like you might have spent more or a very large percentage of what you made from these deals just having your legal team review it. So I try not to do that unless I really feel like it's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, this Yellow Beezy case is crazy because like Mo3 is gone. It's been years at this point. I've interviewed both of them.
Same.
Cool with both of them. Try to get them to work it out. Didn't work. And it's like at this point, if Yellow Beezy was really involved in it, I know that he's just like, man, was it that serious? Like,
Right.
These guys were cool at one point. There's pictures of them together.
Yeah.
Like, to go from that to, like, people dying is just, like, over what? Rap lyrics? Over who's the best in a small city? I mean, Dallas is not that big compared to New York or L.A. Everyone has money. Everyone can move away. People dying. It's just messed up, man. Honestly.
Nah, for sure. I mean, the crazy thing about it to me, well, all right, number one, I was in Dallas in, I guess, 2019. There was like a Juice WRLD show that this promoter booked, and I got paid to just go and do social media and hang out or whatever. And I went, I'm backstage with Juice WRLD. I'm kind of like walking through the crowd a little bit. I see Yellow Beezy, say what up to him for a second, and then I'm looking at social media later, and I realized that Mo3 had been added to the show last minute, because basically the show was a disaster, despite being a Juice WRLD show. Like, there was tons of empty seats there. They didn't sell anywhere near enough tickets. I think they put Mo3 on the bill last minute to try to get more people to come. But then there was some misunderstanding. So when Mo3 shows up at the stadium, they don't let him in. He ends up getting arrested. And that was like kind of my introduction to their beef, because I didn't really know about it like that prior to that. But then, like I had Yellow Beezy on like before and after Mo3 died, and he was playing by the street code 100%. Like, he just wouldn't say a damn thing about Mo3. And the clip of me asking him about it ended up going viral after the Rolling 60s RICO came down. But I was basically like, I felt like I was pretty tame with trying to ask him about the Mo3 situation. He wouldn't say shit. Now you understand possibly why. If he really did order this hit, I guess that's even more of a reason to not speak about it on camera and during interviews and everything like that. Now we understand why he was so on point about not having a perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, when I asked him about it, he said, Mo3, who's that? Never heard of him.
Yeah.
I know all the hot rappers in Dallas. Are you sure you saying the right name? I'm like, okay. Well, after we did the interview with you, I interviewed Mo3.
Who?
Mo3.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I remember that. I think in mine, he was more like, yeah, rest in peace to him. I didn't know him like that. Like, he acknowledged that he knew him, which is a little bit more believable, but he didn't have any kind of words to say about him. He didn't want to get involved with all that.
Someone who you interviewed is now on trial, Tay-K.
Yeah.
You're the reason he got locked up, by the way. It was that interview when he was already in jail is the reason why he's being charged with other murder.
Well, I did get him in trouble for the iPad.
Oh, he had an iPad?
That is a real thing. Yeah, I did an interview over the phone from jail with him before he went on trial. And while he was doing the interview, he mentioned something about having an iPad. And this is before the era of like prisoners having tablets and stuff, which you hear about a lot these days. And his team reviewed it before it came out. They said, hey, we want to review this before we put it out. I gave it to them. They reviewed it. I actually thought to myself, like, oh, well, if the iPad thing is a big deal, then they'll just say that they want that clip removed. But I don't think they mentioned it. And then it came out, and then his cell got raided, and they ended up taking his iPad. So we did kind of play a role in getting him caught up, although obviously he was going to end up doing an exceedingly long sentence regardless.
Well, yeah, he got 55 years.
Yeah, and now he's fighting life, I guess, for this other charge.
Yeah, so this is the second murder trial.
Yeah.
And his own girlfriend testified against him. And other witnesses. I guess he tried to rob a cameraman for his equipment and ended up killing him.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Tay-K now, he's like a full-blown adult. Comes in as a kid. Now he's like a grown-up. He's got like a slash on the back of his head. And
yeah, he's kind of, he got more weight on him now. He just looks grown. He's got the glasses and shit. He just looks so different than this like 16-year-old kid that everybody kind of fell in love with when they first saw him, because he was very much doing like teeny bopper drill music at the time. He was really like crazy early on that whole archetype that we're all kind of used to now. But yeah, he's like, I mean, if you go back to it, just like lyrically and the way his voice and his delivery, everything, man, he was just so cool. He could have been so big that he just wilded out at like 16. And it's crazy to think that his whole story just came to an end because of decisions that he made before he even had a fully developed frontal cortex.
yeah, I mean, look, I just interviewed Bloodhound Q50. You did an interview as well. And look, I mean, he denied everything, as he should. Basically said that all the lyrics about murders are about
Warzone.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I believe him.
I'll be honest, like Q50 conducted himself better than damn near anybody I've seen doing this interview, considering the questions that he knew would be asked. And I was pretty careful about the questions. I got it. Like, you can't really talk about, even though Bloodhound Lil Jeff is dead, he's being accused of being involved in a lot of the stuff that Jeff was involved in. So he can't really say, oh yeah, Jeff killed all these people, because then suddenly he's putting himself into it as well. So I get it. But if any of this stuff is true, it's insane. It really is. And it ends horribly. Like, Jeff got killed. How old was he? Maybe 20? 19? 21 years old.
21. Okay.
21. Baby. Barely. I'm 52. You know what I'm saying? That's like more than twice his age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and you listen to the lyrics. I really got the chance to really like go through the catalog and listen to their stuff. And it's like, they're saying some shit in these songs. They're saying some shit. You know, you watch the Traplo Ross documentaries and he's breaking it all down. It's like, woo, like there's a lot of stuff to unpack in this music, but that's what gives it that realism and the way they're kind of spinning. Because they're not like technically like the best rappers. They're not like super lyrical and their timing is crazy. It's like they're just talking that shit.
If Bloodhound Q50, if we all found out tomorrow that he had never done shit, that everything was made up, and that he was a private school kid who, I feel like that would probably be pretty close to the end of his career. I feel like the fans are bought in because it feels so real. He's almost like an awkward person to interview because you can't really ask him anything about any of the music. I mean, the new mixtape is called Long Live My Brother. He probably killed your bitch ass brother.
Right.
Which is a very, very long name to the album.
Well, the bitch ass, he says in the songs, but it says, long live my brother, he probably killed your brother. That's the actual name of the mixtape.
Oh, okay.
The bitch ass part. Okay. He says that in his ad-libs.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of awkward. Like, you can't ask him about that. Like, I think we did, honestly. Like, but you can't ask him about most of this stuff.
Not really.
And expect to get any kind of serious response. Or you're going to look like a fed for even just saying his own lyrics to him.
Oh yeah, I asked about the Bloodhound Gang. He said, I don't know. I was like, all right. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, listen, he signed a Lil Baby, who I consider a friend.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here and try to like purposely try to mess up something and get him caught up, which I don't do anyways. But with Lil Baby being my man, I'm extra not gonna do that.
I until you just said Bloodhound Gang, it didn't even occur to me that I should have asked him about the Bloodhound Gang who performed You and Me, Baby Ain't Nothing But Mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel.
Right.
I didn't even think to bring that up. But
yeah.
Now I've got, if I interview him again, I got something to go on.
Yeah. Well, NBA YoungBoy is out.
YoungBoy is out?
That's what they say, that he's out and transferred to an unknown location.
Whoa, I didn't know that. That's
like,
insane.
Yeah. I mean, this has been, academics said this, how long ago? March 24th.
Holy shit, I thought he was just
So,
about
like,
to get out.
2
I didn't
weeks.
know he was actually out. That's crazy.
I mean, I'm sure that they're saying probably the halfway house. And I'm sure a lot of it is like, don't use social media.
Yeah.
Like, no more pictures of you with pills.
100 Zans right here.
Yeah, and so forth. Like, listen, like, you've been through this enough times. Just, you're about to come home to a lot.
Man, I would love to see a free YoungBoy because I feel like, all those years of him making music, just living in this house in Utah, like, it was cool, but at a certain point, the music started to sound so repetitive, and it felt like we were listening to a guy who had been trapped in a house, barely having contact with anybody. And I started to kind of lose excitement about his music at a certain point, even though I love his shit. But man, I do worry though, because it's like somebody like YoungBoy is just so prone to bullshit, to getting wrapped up in crazy shit, that I just feel like, he got to keep an army of security around him and just be super on point. Because he just loves being outside, doing all the bad shit that he could possibly get into. I'm happy. I love the idea of him being free, but I also just hope that he takes it slow and continues to move intelligently, because I've just seen him fuck up his own freedom so many times.
Well, the RIAA is saying that YoungBoy is the most successful rapper of the last decade with 8 platinum albums.
Wow.
No radio support, no playlist support, no really big features.
Juice WRLD. It's the main one that comes to mind.
Okay, but I'm saying as a whole, he's not getting these big features. A lot of these albums are just him.
Yeah.
Or him and just some of his people around him. No major producers. You don't see like Pharrell doing beats for him or Metro Boomin or whatever. It seems like he has his own little operation, his own fan base, who's just rabid for his stuff. No touring.
Nope.
no touring at all, and yet 8 platinum albums in a decade.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, it's astonishing.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the lack of variety in his production is definitely part of what kind of made me bored with his catalog at a certain point. Like, he's just got so many absolute bangers over the years, but then there's just like a lot of stuff that just is kind of like, it's just like just like his conscious thoughts being dumped out onto a track. Like, I feel like that there is a really great YoungBoy album to be had if he's willing to, not drop music for a year and just work and create a bunch of stuff that really stands out. Because, a lot of times he'll put out a project with 20 songs and there'll be like 1 or 2 that sounds listenable to me and the rest of it just kind of blends together.
Yeah, I mean, I told Quando Rondo that the project he did with YoungBoy was my favorite YoungBoy project. And my
was
favorite
never even
project.
supposed to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
The label sneakily put it out and YoungBoy was furious about it.
Great project, I think. And I wasn't bullshitting. Like, when I tell people, like, musically what I think, I try not to flip-flop around it because I don't really give my take all that often. I'm like, that was a great album. It came well. Like, the way you guys sound together is great. The beats were great and so forth. But yeah, I mean, he's out. I hope he stays out. He seems like he's not all the way there.
Hell no. He's
not all the way there.
Yeah. He's
part way
about
there.
as
not all
in
the way
your
there.
own mind as you can get. He loves drugs. He loves tobacco. He's just he's one of the main rappers you will never see. It might be him and Cardi back to back. I would like to know who consumes the most tobacco during the course of a day, because they both love it more than almost anybody. But that's why I feel like, honestly, YoungBoy is like 4 Extras, or he's like Thug, where they need a staff in charge of keeping them separate from the real world and from taking advantage of all the opportunities that are right there in front of them, because they just are a little too impulsive and it's just a little too easy to get caught up in that shit. I feel like, YoungBoy, he needs people on his ass keeping him out of trouble, because you just see that over the years. I mean, he's mega famous. Like you said, he's got 8 platinum albums and he's still pretending to be an old lady and calling up the doctor to get lean prescriptions. Like, things that you just like really don't have to do. I'm sure there was a smarter way for you to get lean, or just not even drink lean while you're on probation and, stuck in this house all day. I don't know. I feel like he just needs a lot of separation between him and the rest of the world.
Well, Kanye has been on one for a minute.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like, I was a big Yeezy fan. I've gotten rid of most of my Yeezys at this point. I got a few pair here and there. I don't wear them all that often. I used to wear them all the time. Now I don't wear them at all. I feel like Kanye will never go broke, okay? He's got hundreds of songs that he's earning, he owns percentages of, so he's making money off the streams. His stuff is still being used in movies, and it has been used in movies, so the publishing, like, all that money's coming through. He can still do shows in lots of places around the world. He can still do, like, Asia, like China, Korea. People will still show up. He can still fill a stadium in certain places. But Kanye being at the top of his game, where his clothes are popping, his albums are highly anticipated, I just feel like those days are over.
Yeah. For sure. I mean,
it's been a hell of a run. But it is what it is.
Did you listen to the Bully album?
I did. And
I liked a lot of the songs.
It wasn't bad.
There was a bunch of moments where I was like, oh, this is the old Kanye that I loved.
Huh.
But then there was a lot of whatever.
Right.
I'm
but
interested.
It was taken down. It was like up, and then it's not up anymore.
Yeah, it was like 40 minutes. It was just on his YouTube. I listened to it. It started to repeat itself halfway through. I'm not really sure exactly what that was about. Like, it was like 5 songs, and then it was like those same 5 songs playing again or something. I was really confused when I was listening to it, but there were definitely moments on that tape where I really heard the version of Kanye that I loved from back in the day. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he's somebody who has seen the future and has listened to his gut so many times that he just believes that he knows the direction that the world is going to go in. He knew that he was going to rock pink polo shirts and that was going to become cool. He knew that he was going to use all these soul samples and that was going to be cool. He knew that it was going to become cool to be a nerd and that he didn't have to pretend to be a gangster or whatever. And I think that in his mind, when he says anti-Semitic things or when he says horrible things about Jay-Z's kids or whatever, that this is him being so conscious of what the culture is and what it's becoming that this stuff will be appreciated by some percentage of the people. And I think in a lot of these cases, he's just dead wrong. I don't think that I think he will continue to be the only one wearing Klan outfits, aside from actual Klan members. I might be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope that stays just a Kanye thing. But yeah, I mean, it just feels like even think about, he had a bunch of production on Cardi's album, and it was going to stay on Cardi's album. Cardi was damn near forced to remove Kanye off his project because he went crazy on Twitter. And it was basically voiced to Cardi, I think, that if he put out this album with Kanye all over it, he was supposed to be on the album, quote unquote, as much as Kendrick. So Kendrick rapped on like 3 songs, I guess.
Two songs.
I think there was another song where he had some other words or something. But either way, Kanye, had that opportunity. He talks crazy on the internet, wiles out about the Jews and whatever, and then all of a sudden he's removed off the Cardi album. And that's why he burnt the bridge with Cardi. I saw that he blocked Academics the other day.
Oh, they're not good anymore?
I don't know if they already managed to fix the relationship, but like in the words of Wack told me, Axe got 6 months. He said, nobody stays cool with Kanye too long. So even Wack will be in his orbit. He'll get on the private jet. He'll hang out with him for a couple months, or not a couple months straight, but he's around him. And then at some point, you just kind of have to have the sense of when to back off and just let him be himself.
Like Kanye rotates people. But then my man John Monopoly's been with him since the beginning.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how close they are at this very moment, but he's been around.
To be a rapper manager is just like it takes a sense of stoicism and it takes like an internal peace that I think most people don't have. Like, shout out to Peter Pan, Chief Keef's manager.
He's still around? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's up.
And I mean, I feel like Chief Keef might be easier to deal with now than he used to be. Well, for sure that is the case. Like, as he's got older, I think he's got a lot less ridiculous with the drugs and just the craziness. But, I very much got that impression from talking to Peter Pan. Like, you've got to be like the ultimate cool head in these situations to stay on good terms with this artist and deal with so much shit. And like for me, I have a vision of how I want things to go. I have a business. I want it to go a certain way. I get annoyed by people who try to fuck that up and try to get in the way of whatever I'm trying to build. But I mean, if you're going to be the manager to somebody like Kanye or Chief Keef, you just really got to be along for the ride and constantly trying to steer the ship in the right direction while accepting that your client is probably going to be working against what you're trying to accomplish, at least some of the time.
As someone whose wife does a lot of nude things for a living, when you look at Kanye and Bianca, how she showed up at the Grammys naked and just does a lot of naked stuff, do you think that she was always cool with that? Because, I mean, look, she has a nice body. I mean, you're not going to discount how she looks.
Looks great, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Great looking girl, big boobs, nice figure, whatever. Do you think that she's cool with that and, let's do this, I want to show off my body? Or do you think like, all right, I'm with this billionaire, he's my husband, I got to go along with this because this is how I'm going to stick around?
I mean, I could really see it going either way because on one hand, I've had the experience being in Vegas for AVN, and it's like I'm walking around with Lena, and she's got an outfit on that is, extremely revealing. And, the things that they're going to red carpets, and, people just aren't expecting to see this. I'm at the porn convention. Everybody's expecting to see this. You're surrounded by some of the horniest men on earth. And, she's really probably doing it more for like marketing than anything else. It's not like she chooses to dress like that, like on a regular basis. But, I think for somebody like her who's comfortable with their own skin and doesn't mind people seeing them in a state of undress, it's very easy for me to imagine that she could be down for this plan. Like, I don't think she has to be being held captive in order to be half naked out there. But at the same time, I mean, I was there at the Pornhub Awards in 2018 where Kanye was the creative director. And there were different girls that I know who were backstage. Basically, like Kanye was, you know, creative directing the whole thing. So there were certain girls that he would just go up to and say like, hey, this dress, I need you to take it off. Like, I want you to present the award naked. And they would do it. They would just go along with it. You know, this is part of his creative genius, I guess, to sort of normalize nudity and pornography, even though for a while there he was saying that he was a God-fearing man and the porn was evil. I don't know what happened to that. I mean, I know for a fact that he went into the Vixen office, Vixen, one of the biggest porn companies, and basically like announced to the entire staff that porn, that their porn that they were in charge of creating saved his marriage.
Okay. Well, wasn't Blacked part of Vixen?
Blacked is owned by Vixen as well.
Right,
One of their brands.
he said he watches that on like Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, I mean, he just tweeted today. He said, all I do is make music, play video games, and watch porn.
Yeah.
Well, his wife allegedly left him.
Yeah. She got sick of that lifestyle, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if it was the leather pants with no underwear. It's kind of seems
That was kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. At a certain point, I mean, there's just so much to deal with. Like, I mean, I got a lot of anxiety watching that like hour-long video of academics going and interviewing him. Like just the idea of being around someone who is so convinced of their own creative genius that they're going to make you stand up for the entire interview, and that you know, that they're just going to go in the other room and change into a Klan robe or whatever. Like, just can't imagine. Like, that hour of watching Act do that interview kind of stressed me out. I can't even imagine what many years of being with him as his wife could possibly be like. You know?
Yeah, I mean, because remember he made a comment. He was like, yeah, you know, because of my relationship with Cardi, I never slept with Iggy Azalea.
It was just funny, like, that apparently he thinks that was right there on the table, that she was all about that. It was just Cardi that got in the way of it. I don't know.
Right. Well, Iggy said that she had a meeting with Kanye in 2012 when she was 20. And she said the whole time Kanye was playing porn during the meeting. And then he was like, I masturbate to your photos every day. And you know about this or no?
Yeah, because
he's like, oh, you have a boyfriend? Does he have a big penis? It's like, I bet you he does. And it's like this whole weird penis porn masturbation meeting that was supposed to be about music.
That's part of the lawsuit from some of the ex-Yeezy employees, was that he was maybe it was even like Adidas staff, that he was playing porn in the office around his employees and stuff. I mean, that's insane. That's like, you know, a girl, I mean, obviously, like in Iggy's case, like, she's having a meeting with him of her own free will. Presumably, she could have left at any given time. So it's not going to be the same as like a workplace sexual harassment type lawsuit. But, you know, I would be horrified if one day my daughter was 20 years old and she gets a job at some fashion company and she's excited about it, and all of a sudden there's somebody like forcing her to watch pornography. I mean, that just seems like the kind of thing that should be very opt-in. If you want to watch porn, you should be able to. If you don't want to, you should never have to. Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel Kanye, because Iggy is hot as fuck, and I guess I've never jerked off to her, which kind of seems like an L. Maybe I should consider doing that. If I do, I'm not going to tell her about it. You know, I'm not going to DM her and be like, listen, you may not know this, but me and you, we just had a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, I saw you retweet something, right? It was some girl that was talking about this like incel culture where dudes like get on these chat rooms and they kind of like masturbate at the same time while they post videos for each other to masturbate to.
Yeah, and she like can basically get these guys to do whatever they want, and it's like, I guess in this whole like gooner community.
So what's a gooner?
A gooner is a guy who basically likes to masturbate for extremely prolonged periods of time, many times per day. And there's like a gooner community where these guys will communicate on, I don't know, Discord or Twitter or wherever they're at, that they congregate. And they basically will kind of like encourage each other to jerk off more, shame each other for jerking off less. And they have all these different girls that they sort of worship. And they really like girls who, in a lot of cases, will kind of denigrate them and call them pussies and all this shit. And I mean, that girl you're talking about, Leia, her Twitter name is like Your Little Goddess. She was just on Plug Talk, plugtalk.com. And she okay. She has a boyfriend. And fuck, am I allowed to say that? Yeah, whatever. She has a boyfriend. He's like a big fat guy. I show up. I'm thinking it's her manager or whatever. I'm talking to this guy normal. I guess I met him a few years back. He's just talking to me, whatever. And we do the scene, and this guy's waiting in the lobby or whatever, which is that's happened many, many times. That doesn't really like seem that crazy to me anymore. But then we go home and we start looking at her content. She's got content where it's a huge black dude banging her, and this dude is just sitting on the couch right next to her. He's in the video, so people can watch her real life dude sit there and observe her getting dogged out. And then as we scroll down the page, we see this site. She's bent over, big ass black dude banging her from behind. The boyfriend is laying with his head directly under the intercourse.
Yeah.
His face is inches away from it. That's some hardcore shit. I couldn't fucking believe it when I seen that. And she's hot as fuck. This is one of the hottest girls we ever had on Plug Talk. Amazing experience. It was so great. And it's just so funny to me that she's involved in this hardcore fetish shit like that. And she's got videos on her website with like captions that, or like big bubble letter captions that are just like, you like that, huh? And you can feel free to bleep me, but
there's this whole like phenomenon I feel that I keep hearing more and more of the really hot porn girl with the like massively obese, morbidly obese, fat boyfriends or husband. And they have these relationships that seem to be real relationships. Sometimes they even have kids together. And it's just like a boyfriend or husband are okay with them doing porn with other dudes, and they watch or they don't watch. And it's like, it's a money thing, but is it really a money thing? Because if they have kids together, it's a little more than a money thing, and they're still together. And it's just like, what exactly is going on here?
I mean, there's a lot of dudes who are like at least okay, I think, with the idea of their girl doing porn or getting fucked by other guys. I mean, like, sometimes you talk to girls who have a boyfriend or a husband who's more like the average guy, where they have some trepidation about it, but they're cool with it because it is a business thing and it makes money and it is what it is. But then on the other hand, sometimes I'll talk to girls who, you know, they're out here doing gangbangs, and the husband does not give a fuck. He's into it. He's super turned on by it, and he's, you know, wants to watch in some cases, or at the very least, like, wants to, you know, watch their content after the fact, etc. So, you know, it's a far less rare fetish than I think a lot of people think it is. But yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, if I hadn't entered into the porn world, I would still think that this was very bizarre.
Well, that one girl that you signed, the blonde girl?
Sky Bree.
Right. Didn't she say that Kanye reached out to her to get a very endowed male porn star to have sex with Bianca while he watched? That's what she claimed, right?
I heard about that. So there's a dude named Dredd who's widely known as having the biggest penis in the world right now.
You interviewed him.
I did. I think Lexington Steele, who I also interviewed, held down that title before Dredd kind of became like the main dude around town. I don't think Sky ever actually shot with Dredd, but yeah, I know that she signed an NDA at one point and was gonna go hang out with Kanye, and then they never ended up doing it. And I think that was one of his requests, was that he wanted to see.
Wait, I thought she said that Kanye wanted a guy that was bigger than Dredd.
I don't know that exists.
There's a guy named Vlad, actually. I've seen a couple scenes. Not me. Not me.
Really?
No, I'm not. There's actually a guy named Vlad. You saw him, like, I don't know, maybe like 5-7 years ago. He didn't do a lot of scenes.
Really?
Wasn't the best performer, but he looked like he had like 1.5 feet or something. Like, he just was insane looking.
You got to think that there are guys out there that have like absurd penises that just don't want to do porn. So It's like you're kind of limited to the guys who actually want to do this with their life. Because that dude Dredd was a normal guy for a long ass time. Like, he's I think he's like late 40s or whatever.
Yeah, so was Lex Steele.
Lex Steele, I think
he was like a
50,
stockbroker
yeah.
or something.
Yeah. A lot of these guys,
I interviewed him back in the day.
they're normal dudes, and then at some point they realize they have a superpower, and they just start utilizing it after that, which is kind of insane because, I remember being like 13 and like looking at my penis and being like, okay, so do I have a big penis or a small penis? I have no idea because I haven't really seen that many of my friends' penises. We didn't really have access to porn like that. So I'm looking at my own shit, like really wondering, like, is this good? Is this bad? And I guess I get it. The dudes like kind of go through a significant chunk of their life before they realize what they're working with. But yeah.
Look, I just want to say this because, sometimes you do an interview and after the fact, you're like, oh, I should ask this. I've been meaning to say this for a little while now. Mm-hmm. Last time you were on and we talked about how, okay, Lena did the scene with Jason Love and then you guys had the contest and then you guys had a threesome with, was it Lil D? Mm-hmm. Right? And I said, well, that's interesting. You got black guys both times. And you're like, well, that's because in porn, almost all the male performers are black and we didn't have much of the choice. And I'm like, in retrospect, I thought about it. I'm like, there's a gang of white dudes in porn.
There is.
There's a gang.
Okay.
Hundreds.
Jason Love, as far as like, because her concern,
You disrespecting the white guys in porn, man. All the white meat slangers out there, all the BWCs. I'm just saying. Saying.
Shout out to Alex Legend, J Mac, Johnny Sins. There's a lot of great talent out there.
Okay.
TT Boy, we're gonna go all the way into the depths.
My man, well, 40,000.
Hey, put out that full interview. Because you got a clip out.
Wait, there's no full interview?
I don't think you ever put the full interview out.
Hold on.
I tried to find it before.
Oh, shit. Hold on a second. Does TT not have a full interview? That's just...
Well, I'm sure you did it, but I think you only put out a clip.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm about to hit up
There you go.
Leo. Full interview, TT Boy.
Nice.
About to email you.
That being said, okay, when we chose Jason Love, it was like, who's got the biggest social media following? That immediately just narrows it down to a couple of names. And then Jason Love just seemed like he was the man for the job.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
That's one.
But there's plenty of white guys out there that are significant.
I'm just trying to say, man, like that answer, I felt disrespected. The white contribution to meat slanging.
You're right. But okay, if somebody had told me like, hey, a black guy will sell 30% better than a white guy, that's all we need to hear. Okay. We're going black. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Well, for sure, like, it was really about the size of the social media platform, right?
Okay.
Like, of who's the biggest name, who's going to make the biggest splash.
The biggest splash. You know what I heard? I was talking to this one porn girl I know, and she said, this kind of blew my mind a little bit. She said that around 30% of porn scenes, the guy can't actually do the money shot at the end. So they fake, they put like the fake cum, they do the fake cream pie situation. 30%.
That sounds a little high, but also, I mean, I have seen this many, many times.
Right.
So.
I'm not saying with you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying with you. I'm just talking about with male talent. And, and there's also like, you could like inject yourself with something.
Well,
you know about this?
That's not going to necessarily get you to come.
Right, but it keeps you hard.
Yeah. Apparently that shit is it. Like, this thing that you inject into your dick, people tell me it's the craziest thing ever. But it's like 4 hours of your shit being rock hard and like you can't even get it down. I guess there's like an antidote. There's like something you stab into it to make it go away. But I also hear that a lot of like young guys get into the game and they use this and it ruins their dick for, it's hard to get hard through normal methods once you've used this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew this one girl who was paid to sleep with this billionaire. Fuck it, I'll say it. Peter Nygaard.
Okay.
He's in prison right now anyway, so who gives a shit? So she told me that he had a mechanical penis. It was like a metal implant that he could like control. You know about this?
Yeah. So, okay, I don't know if it's exactly the same as what you're talking about, but I've heard about this technology where basically a guy will be so burnt out off dick pills and shooting his dick up or whatever that they can't really get hard anymore. So there's a pump that they can
Yeah, I heard about the
install
pump. Yeah.
into your like ball area.
Yeah.
And dudes will like be able to go down there and like you can feel the pump. They squeeze the pump a bunch of times and it pumps blood into their penis and their penis works.
Blood or air?
I assume blood because your penis fills up with blood when you get a boner.
Okay, I get
But
it. Yeah.
they-
But how do they? Well, that's interesting.
I don't know. I heard that this technology was basically invented because of trans people. If you think about it, it's like what if you get a fake dick added to a woman,
Yeah.
then how are you going to get the dick hard?
Yeah, that's true,
You can't, I guess, but this might be like the solution to that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Not a problem I ever considered.
I
in the
honestly
past,
really,
but
I
okay.
want to do a deep dive into this because I don't think it's really been documented, and I find the concept of it so fascinating.
Yeah. No, she said it was like metal, like on the inside. Like
See, I don't
it
know
was
about
like
metal. That's crazy.
I mean, but this guy's a billionaire. He's in jail for like sex trafficking.
He's like Iron
Bunch of
Man.
stuff.
He's got a
Yeah, I know,
whole-
right?
He's got a whole laboratory.
I have this one of the famous black performers had that pump. Apparently he had some sort of accident when he was in the military or something, and they had to put the pump in. It was like he had one of these 2-letter names, like TL something or TP something or yeah, like it was around in the 90s. I forgot what it was, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting how like you look at the female community. BBLs are everywhere. Breast implants are everywhere. Lipo everywhere, right? You go into the men. Have you ever heard of anyone getting a penis enlargement?
Yeah.
Really?
Not male performers that
Just
I
a
know of.
regular guy.
I assume it's out there, like the porn star dudes are doing stuff to make their dicks bigger. I don't really understand. It's like it's a dark art. You know, nobody wants to share information about this. That's why I kind of want to do a documentary about it because I feel like there's so much interesting shit going on out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I you know, I'm just gonna say it because I asked him about it in an interview. But at one point, Fat Boy SSE, you know him.
He got a penis enlargement?
Well, at one point, his ex-girlfriend aired him out on, I think she took control of his Instagram and posted a screenshot of a receipt from his doctor that basically claimed to be a penis implant that cost, I think, $15,000, maybe $18,000. And I immediately go, I see the doctor's name, I search up the doctor, I find his website, and I see what it looks like. And it's just this crazy looking piece of plastic that they actually like, they like cut your dick open and they install it under the skin. And I guess it makes it bigger. I asked him about it in the interview. He said that it wasn't true. It seemed like he was lying. No offense, Fat Boy, I love you, but it just seemed like he was lying. And I talked to like Selena Powell or like somebody else who slept with him. They told me he had it too. But that's one of the only people I know who actually got one allegedly in real life. They say that Elon Musk has a botched penis implant.
Well, I know that John Bobbitt.
He had to get one?
So John Bobbitt.
He's got a good excuse.
Yeah, well, his wife cut his penis off,
Yeah.
took it to the car with her, drove somewhere,
Threw it out
tossed
the
it out
window,
the
yeah.
car. They managed to find it and stitch it back on.
Didn't he do porn?
He did porn,
I gotta find it.
yeah. And apparently he got the girl pregnant that he did the porn movie with.
Good for him.
But, you know, time goes on. He's known for his penis, and that's it. So I guess he decided to go get a penis enlargement, and he did the whole interview with the doctor, and blah, blah, and then I heard it ended up getting botched, and he sued the doctor and whatever else. I guess, like, man, like, I just would never even consider it.
No.
Right? Like, when I look at my life, I feel like, yo, I've never had complaints. You know what I mean? I've been putting it down now for however many years. Okay, I'm not Dredd or Lex Steele, but that's okay. I guess the risk of something going wrong with your penis is so, like, even if it's like a 1% chance, like a 0.5% chance, like I'm not gonna risk it just to have a bigger penis. Like, what does an extra 3 inches get me? Like, in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, when you look at like the girls getting BBLs, it's like they all know of all these famous chicks that got BBLs that came out very nice. So it's like easy to understand why girls want to go get BBLs because they've
Right.
seen tons of other girls
Right.
get them.
And it's seen from the outside in clothes.
Right.
You get a penis enlargement unless you're wearing biker shorts everywhere you go. You know?
But imagine like our society if there was a lot of dudes out there who had dick implants and it looked completely normal, and there were dudes doing testimonials about it, doing interviews saying, yeah, I got a penis implant, it's great, no big deal. Then maybe I would have a different attitude about it. But for sure, like the idea that that you just have a piece of plastic inside your penis, I mean, it just sounds like a horrible idea. I don't know.
It sounds insane.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy. But maybe like, I mean, I'm thinking about it now. Like, what if like it was completely common to walk around with your penis out, right? Like, like what if having your penis out was as common as a woman wearing a thong?
Yeah.
And these days, back in the day, thongs were like, ooh, taboo. But these days, you go on Instagram and you see millions of thongs every day, right? So what if having your whole penis out was just socially acceptable? So getting a penis enlargement, women know right away that you're rocking with it. I think more men would do it and probably take the risk. Listen, I interviewed this guy who got his legs chopped off to increase his height. You saw the interview?
I did see a little bit of that, yeah.
Like, he went to Turkey and spent like $80,000 and risked the chance that he couldn't walk again. He said that certain people that got these operations who didn't take the rehab seriously lost their ability to walk, would need walkers, canes, even wheelchairs, all to get a little bit higher. But then again, that's something you see from the outside. A penis enlargement, you're only seeing that with someone you're intimate with.
You know, I used to have a roommate who was probably like 5'7" or some shit like that, 5'6". He was on the shorter side. And I never really realized how nice it is to be tall until I had this short ass roommate, because he would just be talking about it like way too much and just talking about how hard it is being short, how girls won't pay attention to you, etc. So I guess I understand. I could imagine having a super small dick is probably similarly, you know, weird and just shitty and hard to get by. Just like walking around like that, just knowing that people are judging you, like when you do have a sexual experience. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the technology would have to get a lot better in order for that to seem like a reasonable decision. Although, I mean, really, like, what's the difference between a BBL and a height surgery? It ain't really that different, aside from the fact that one's more expensive and more dangerous.
I mean, they're both dangerous. They're both experimental. You know, I don't think anyone dies from height surgery, but people dies from BBL. People definitely died.
Although I think it's like extremely unlikely for you to die unless you go to sort of a janky spot.
DC Young Fly's baby mother.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how that went.
She went to like a American surgeon. There's pictures of them before the surgery, whatever else. You know what it is? The BBL is just a dangerous surgery to begin with. The way it's done, there's just more of a chance to die from that than other things. So I don't know.
I got 2 more tidbits about weird porn things.
Okay.
Number 1.
Let's go.
I know a guy who told me he showed up for a 5-guy gangbang. So
Okay.
him and 4 other black dudes all banging this chick. 4 of them couldn't finish. But this guy has the superpower of being able to come multiple times. He went 5 times in a row. And they passed this off. This is out there in the world. But it seems like, you know, you see 5 different dicks coming. No, it's the same guy 5 times in a row because the other 4 dudes couldn't do it. Which is like, when you think about some of these scenes, they're flying across the world to film this shit sometimes. Very rarely, but with like big companies like Vixen or whatever, like they'll fly to some island just to get the shot to look really unique, you know? You rent a big ass property to shoot the scene in, that might cost you $5,000. You flew out all these different people, like you got hotel rooms for everybody. I mean, realistically, you're not really like supposed to leave the set until everybody finishes. So this guy just rose to the occasion. He went 5 times in a row, which is one of the craziest things I can imagine. But then in addition to that, I would just like to let people know, one time we were filming an orgy and one of the guys in it, I kind of seen him out of the corner of my eye. He scampers away and he takes this little bottle of whatever, I don't know what it is, but he kind of like injects some of it into his penis head. And then he goes over, has sex with the girl, and then finishes. But it's really him like squeezing out the stuff that he had just basically like injected into his urethra.
Yuck.
I don't know how well it works, But I do know that this guy shoots all the time, and I don't think that is even like that out of the ordinary. I think in the porn world, there's a lot of guys getting by with that technique. I've never given it a try, but there's a lot of weird stuff out there.
Well, that's what it is. Adam22, man. Always a pleasure when you come in. We're about to do a masterclass segment. And next time you'll see me on No Jumper.
Let's go. Shout out to all the members.
Yeah.
Vlad members, No Jumper members. We love all the members.
Yes.
Swollen members. Let's go.
Peace.